pitch is swung on. Torres hits a fly ball to deep right. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. It's Glaber Day. Glaber Torres just went to right field and hit a 2-run home run to give the Yankees a 3-0 lead.
And the 0-1.
Base hit to right field. Cubs take the lead. Horner around second. He's going to third. The throw. And it's not in time. And a wild throw at first. Horner's going to try to score. He will. Cubs lead 2-0. Line drive, base hit to left field. This will drive in a run. Swanson's going to score. Racing toward third, Ian Happ. RBI single, Trey Mancini. Cubs lead 3-0.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Welcome back, baseball. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday. The show will last longer than the average game yesterday. 2 hours and 45 minutes. Glad to have you in on a Friday. It's a split show. Are you taking orders at a drive-thru in Chicago, Nick? Are you gaming while you're on the show? What is this headset you're wearing?
It is, I believe, a gaming headset. Yes. No, this
Are
is
you working a call center?
Yeah.
Are
yeah.
you
So
moonlighting off of 1620?
yeah, guys, come on. You know what? It's radio. We gotta have a side hustle, right? No, it's a kind of a nice little setup in my brother-in-law's basement down here. You guys want to see I got the treadmill right there too. So during commercial breaks, you can just hop on the treadmill and get a quick a quarter mile in or something. I don't know, but
You call plays out there too.
yeah. No, this was my wife's old headset that she was using when she first when like working at home was a thing, and it's really comfortable. And yeah, I know it looks like I'm probably being a gaming geek, but it works well. I can hear you guys very well. It's got the directional microphone. Hey, you use what you have available, guys. Come on.
All right, so we're at split show today. We're in Omaha, where it's absolutely beautiful outside. It feels like the summer outside.
Exactly.
I am wearing shorts on the final day of March. Shorts and a hoodie, which is the wardrobe of Nebraskans in the month of March and April. But this is going to be a fun show. We got a split show. I got out of my car, and there was a guy jogging by the station, Nick and Jimmy. Gave me a shout out. I said, "Hello, sir." I'm like, "Welcome to Feel Good Friday, last day of March." Now we got Nick, who may cut into part of the program and go, "No, ma'am, you'll have to call this number." It looks like in your brother-in-law's basement, he's got a lot of leather-bound books there in a bookcase behind you.
Yeah, he's a lot smarter than probably all three of us put together. So he's an engineer in the great city of Chicago. So
like a train engineer or like a regular civil engineer?
A civil engineer, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
But it does a lot of stuff with like bridges as well. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So Nick is in Chicago with a family event going on this weekend. Jimmy and I are in studio for the final day of March and a good day of Major League Baseball. 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Get you in, get you out.
The pace was fast. The stolen bases were up. A little bit of low scoring. We had moments. We had Ohtani showing up. And I think we had overwhelmingly a good response to the opening day of baseball, where more people, watched yesterday than they did during the spring training, or even went to games. That I think people are like, wow, this is okay. The pace is good. The vibe is good. I could get into more Major League Baseball if it's played at this pace, which there is no reason to believe that it will not throughout the entire year.
I was, first of all, very obviously disappointed with the result with my Cleveland Guardians, but the game itself, especially with what we do, that being a late game, 2 hours and 15 minutes, what does that do for you? Huh? I mean, I didn't know if there was going to be a run at all, but I know that's not what you should expect, night in and night out. But no, I think you're right, because it was fun. Like when we were actually driving to Chicago too, just kind of listening to some of the broadcasts, and I don't know. And maybe it's because sometimes we get in our own bubble and we just assume that how we're feeling about something is what everybody else is thinking. It just felt like there was a little bit more of a anticipation, and maybe it was because every team was playing yesterday too, and it felt like a real opening day where from the time basically you got your lunch to the time you went to bed, there was baseball going on, and it just had that feeling, the feeling of something new. And as we talked about yesterday a lot too, with having the fresh start and everybody is 0-0, and yes, your Cubs are 1-0. Congratulations on that. But yeah, I mean, it is it's just that feeling. It's that feeling right now.
Well, here, so I was very curious. Again, there are a lot of people that probably have not been to a minor league baseball game where they use the pitch clock, probably didn't go to spring training. So yesterday was the first day that you've heard about the pitch clock and the pace of the game. And you're like, okay, I'm very, very curious. Here's why I knew it was working. Once I figured out how to get my phone onto my Fire Stick to watch the MLB games, which was a nightmare, but then it was an easy fix. I'm watching the Cubs game, and then I'm flipping around. Usually, if something is on your television or speaking or whatever, and they hold your attention, you hardly ever look at your phone. I kind of realized that about the seventh inning of the Cubs game is that I very rarely look down at my phone because the game is going so quick. But I started asking a couple of friends that went down to Kansas City to take in the Kansas City Minnesota game, and that was a 2-0 game that went pretty quick. And I said, "How was the experience?" And they brought up an interesting point. Like baseball has always had, it's a conversational sport, whether it be on the radio or in the stands. I don't know if you guys, when you go to a ball game, you like to sit around and talk to the people around you. You went to the game with, or even strangers that are near you. But baseball has given you that forum because of the way that the game is played. And my friend that was at the K yesterday brought up an interesting point. He said, as a fan, you are more locked into the game because there's always something going on. It's not like you're sitting there and you're having this long, drawn-out conversation with the person next to you, and it takes a half an inning. Said everything is happening, so you're paying more attention. And I found that also, and this is going to be a major adjustment. We have all done play-by-play. We've also been the analyst. It is really going to force in baseball booths, the analyst is going to have to get in and out really, really quick. Now, on radio, it's more the analyst drops in periodically, unless they're, a name and that's all they do. They don't do any play-by-play. But in baseball, TV, the analyst sometimes is bigger than the play-by-play guy in terms of their name power. They're going to have to really, really button it up, which is actually going to be good for the broadcast. None of this, idle chit chat, this just, wasted noise out there. All of it's going to have to be bang, bang, more precise. And I think for the whole product, it is going to be fantastic.
That's a good point. I picked that up watching yesterday. It's like, hey, even the little things, like there was a run last night in the Astros game, and my wife goes, "I want to see the train. First time this season." She goes, "I don't have time for the train. Got to get to the next pitch." And we started talking about that. I was like, yeah, everything's a little tighter, a little more concise. And the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? This is going to be good for the broadcast. I'm in on it. I like it.
Why are you doing Rex Hudler like that? I mean, I feel like that. That's what you have somebody in mind right now.
4 years.
Okay, so it's going to be like this every day. There's going to be moments. There was a couple of games that went over 3 hours yesterday. But again, don't focus on the game time. Focus on the pace. Mm-hmm. I think it's just going to make analysts in baseball. They're going to have to be to the point. They're going to have to get in. They're going to have to get out. There was on the Mets broadcast, Ron Darling, and I love the Mets booth. You got Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez, and Gary Cohen, and they have a lot of discussion. They treat the game like you would treat like a 3-hour talk show, where it's a conversation, and then that's how baseball usually has been. But I noticed yesterday, Ron Darling, who likes to talk, he had to cut to his point, and then it would be Gary Cohen would pop in, and there's the pitch. So I think the overall product on and off the field is going to be much better. And I hope when we get to, May, June 1, really the pitch clock is not even a discussion point. Or, hey, we're trending towards, for the first time since 2011, games are going to be under 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Well, and did you see when you're looking at headlines throughout Major League Baseball during the day and at night in your Cubs game, and then of course last night it's what sparked an inning in Cleveland's loss to Seattle was the pitch clock violation and
Yeah.
having a ball charged, and in this case, Karen Check, who's just a I need more than 4 hours for that one, but you have those moments still kind of impacting a game, but it's amazing. Like people are like, whoa, okay, it's because it's new, and it did have some type of a role in the game, whether it was significant or it just happened. And I'm kind of looking forward to the day that we don't have to worry about that, where that's not like the very top line on the the bottom ticker of ESPN of like, oh, well, it was a pitch clock violation that led to a run that ended up tying a game, because it is something that we're all as a audience trying to get used to. But you and I were talking to Darren Erstad about the rule changes, and he mentioned when he was out at spring training what Mike Trout had to say, and it's like, guys, it's baseball basically. We're going to adjust to this, and I think I have no problem believing that the players for the most part probably have throughout spring training. Where I'm curious is when the audience kind of maybe it's more for the media. Maybe it's something. It's just an extra story if it happens, and you can somehow connect it to a large inning or where this is where the tide turned. Okay, maybe it's a little bit of a nugget, but I am curious at what point will the audience kind of just not even pay attention, because you and I both seen it prior, and it's amazing where okay, there's a clock out there. Okay, there's some communication between the umpire every now and then with the pitcher, with the hitter. But after a while, it just became part of the game. You didn't even notice it. And I think that's where we're headed.
Elimination of idle time. That's the whole goal behind this. And baseball, starting in the minors and now to the majors, has worked out. The larger bases worked out. Stolen bases were up. Last year, there were 5 stolen bases on opening day. Yesterday, there were 21. And it wasn't just stealing bases. If you watch the Cubs game, there was a pickoff at first base that in the old bases, the Cub is out. The new base is much larger. The Cub is safe because he had more room to get back. The bag is bigger, so he had, more of an edge to get back there. I just, the product was good. Now, can I complain for a little bit about yesterday? And this is on Major League Baseball. Love the pace. Again, we're all going to have to adjust on how we watch the game. Like, I think we might be more involved. People in the Cleveland-Seattle game last night, which that atmosphere was it T-Mobile Stadium?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is now.
Yep, it is. Not Safeco anymore.
People were into it. They were counting down the pitch clock. Finally, Ty France hits a 3-run dong.
Right.
Sorry, Guardians lost, but the fans were counting down the pitch clock. So actually in baseball, fans may become more involved.
It's like a shot clock when you're counting down the shot clock in a student section.
Exactly. I mean, this could be a win-win across the board. Now, here's where my complaint is. I know it's a feel-good Friday. I'm not supposed to be a downer. But God dang it, Major League Baseball. Afternoon baseball makes me happy. And maybe that's why I'm a Cub. You come home from school, the Cubs were on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I became a Cub fan. Thank you, WGN and Bozo the Clown. And the grand prize game. But there's afternoon baseball I like. Now it's a breath of fresh air. We get baseball every day. I got some issues, and I got to have some speaks with Manfred. Why yesterday, when all 30 teams are playing, which is a great idea, do we only have one national game?
Thank you.
So ESPN carried, and it turned out to be a really good game, decided in the ninth between the White Sox and the Astros. Okay? We had to see Dylan Cease throw a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and then, oh, by the way, I'm going to throw you an 81-mile-an-hour knuckle curve. Good luck.
He's good.
So, but that was the only national game on opening day. And then the biggest global star in the sport going played on the West Coast last night and played late into the night in Ohtani. The Angels are playing against the A's. I don't know why in scheduling, Major League Baseball decided, hey, let's have 2 West Coast teams playing each other, the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers and the Angels and the A's, okay? We got lucky with weather yesterday. There wasn't any snow delays around the country. But if you're going to have warm weather sites, why do we have other warm weather teams playing there? That's one complaint. But not having Ohtani, even if he's playing the A's, and by the way, the A's are on a pace to win 162 games after winning last night against the Angels.
I have to change my over.
You had Ohtani. You knew he was going to pitch opening day.
Yep.
You had that game stashed away at 9:00 Central last night.
And not on TV.
Yeah, and not on national TV. What are we doing?
Music to my ears.
The rest of the day was good. Those scheduling type things and promotion of stars, maybe Major League Baseball will never get away
Sharpie,
from
that's it. And we talked about that a little bit ago when it comes to one of the things that Major League Baseball still struggles with. And one of the things that I do think they're starting to figure it out with certain elements. And I think the World Baseball Classic helped a little bit as well. But that was more organic marketing for the product. That didn't necessarily, it wasn't pushed. It wasn't a big campaign, if you will, for Major League Baseball. That just, the talent spoke for itself if you were paying attention, and then there became a buzz, and then all of a sudden we're supporting country. So that was organic marketing for Major League Baseball. The problem that Major League Baseball continues to have is those types of examples that you bring up right there. Shohei Ohtani on opening day. You're telling me that could not be an early evening game. You're telling me you could not have that schedule where it's even like a 4:00 game or a 5:00 game. For a West Coast team, big whoop. That's an afternoon game.
Ask
they
the
don't care
A's
about
to
that.
play at 3:05.
Exactly. Where's the problem with that? And so, and then back to the point about just having one national broadcast. If there is a day to have a triple header, a national broadcast triple header, tell me, other than playoffs, opening day, even more so than when we see the Labor Day or the Memorial Day, or the 4th of July one where we see the national. And I get it, 4th of July, especially for our nation's independence, it's America's pastime. I get that. But you tell me opening day doesn't qualify as a national triple header day?
It should be a
What are we doing?
quadruple header.
I
There
don't-
should have
well,
been 4
exactly.
games on yesterday.
I don't need to be seeing G League basketball on ESPN. I don't think it's G League basketball, but it's the opening day of
Not
baseball. and
today or
ESPN's one of the
yesterday. Yeah, exactly.
I got home and I was bitching because I was like, all right, baseball's on. We don't have MLB Network because we have Hulu. So I'm excited. I'm ready to watch baseball. It's about 1:30. I turn it on. Wait, there's nothing. There's nothing even on ESPN Plus. The only game I had yesterday afternoon was the Phillies and the Rangers at 3:00 on ESPN Plus. And so during the day I was bitching. And then at night after the Astros ended, I want to watch another game. Well, certainly there'll be another game, even if it is on the ESPN Plus. And I was like, oh, I even said, hey, I think the Dodgers are on. So I check. Oh, sorry, wrong day. That's tonight that they have a game on. So I was like, well, bad word. Might as well go to bed because there's no baseball. I wanted to watch a baseball game. And then I said going to bed. So now I'm bitching again. I was like, why wasn't there 4 games on today? There should have been a game at noon. There should have been a game at 3. You have your 6:00 game. There should be a West Coast game. It should be wall-to-wall baseball today.
Jimmy, I'm going to give you a little marriage advice here. Never go to bed angry.
True.
Yeah.
But she joined me in that argument because she wanted to watch more baseball too.
Did you have some anger on anger in bed last night?
Both of us just
Forgot the
pissed off because there's
frustrations?
no baseball. Yeah.
What happens to a couple that goes to bed angry? Both are angry, but they're not angry at each other.
No, they're angry because they want to watch baseball. I guess that's a good thing.
Is
though.
that where you look at each other and be like,
Wow,
do you?
man, you got a keeper
Sure,
there.
do you? Yeah, okay, let's go.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
How'd it turn out?
Oh,
It's Friday. Come on.
I'm here. We're
It's not
smiling.
All right, you do have a glow to you.
Is he beaming from the studio there?
The only person that's not upset that baseball was not on yesterday is the Chavez family. Like, he scored more than Caitlin Clark was going to score tonight. All right, 6.
I mean, I don't know
28.
about that. but
You'd probably be worn out.
Yeah.
She might go for 20. I think.
I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, but she's playing a really, really good team tonight. It is Final Four weekend. The women go tonight. The men go tomorrow. We will dive into that with our thoughts on what it will look like from Dallas all the way down to Houston. We will also talk a little Nebraska football, and we'll crystal ball some stuff because there is news on Dylan Raiola and Nebraska's reaction. Coming up a little bit later, Mike Schaefer will stop by. He's not as confident, I will tell you that, on his crystal ball pick and his prediction on Dylan Raiola. Like you put in your crystal ball and then you do like a number 1 through 10 on your confidence. He's not as confident as he was probably 6 weeks ago. Well, there was some movement yesterday. It was just some curious movement in what he's going to do. And And by the way, Deuce Robinson, not a surprise.
Yep.
USC, the 5-star tight end. USC finishes with the top 10 recruiting class. That must be rough for Lincoln Riley. So Chafe will join us at 8:30, and I think we're going to help him. So you and Chafe are diehard Guardian fans, along with VJ.
Yes, VJ golf.
Chafe had a major issue yesterday with getting the game, the Cleveland-Seattle game, on his television.
Really?
It said he was blacked out.
Oh, of course, because Omaha, you think Cleveland Guardians.
But I think I know what he did wrong, because I was having some issues with the Cubs-Brewers game. But he was beside himself last night. So hopefully he has gotten that issue resolved. He'll join us coming up at 8:30. And then Steve Sipple. We had to adjust Sip. So Sipple stopped by at 9 o'clock. That's the lineup brought to you by the Final Four referee, John Higgins. The referees, John Higgins, a weather guard. So that's coming up. Plus, at some point, maybe this morning while we're on the air, Creighton is going to go trout fishing.
Ha.
Yes. I think that will
Good weather. Is it good weather for fishing out there?
That will be a snag today. Right now it is. I'm telling you guys.
It's amazing.
I'm no Jim Flowers.
I'm sorry if people can see your look.
I consider myself a weather weenie, but I'm not a pro by any means. I just look at my charts, and I have a minor from college in meteorology. You would think the weather outside here in Omaha, Nick, that there's going to be a major thunderstorm coming.
That's what I thought.
Because it's like muggy. It's like 62, 63. It's really muggy. And by like 2 o'clock today, it's going to be 30 degrees and the wind's going to be howling at 50 miles an hour. Welcome to Nebraska. And there's like severe weather. There's over in Iowa.
Yeah, I'm glad we did the trip yesterday.
Thunderstorms, tornadoes, a snowstorm. Yeah, it's
all wrapped in one.
Yeah. Do we have a Cantori sighting anywhere?
I don't know. He might be in Iowa. That's going to get going to be a path of weather that's going to be crazy in the country today. That's just spring. It's just spring.
It's not boring.
The look on your face when you said a former meteorologist was.
Well, I could have said
priceless.
Well, my other go-to is Tom Bavacqua.
Tommy Bavacqua,
like former meteorologist here. Other than I'm capped out.
Okay.
I don't. My Rolodex of former meteorologists on Omaha TV is about.
Not to be confused with former San Diego Padre great Kirk Bavacqua.
No, Jimmy. A little known fact: they're not related.
I figured all Bavacquas were probably related somehow, some way.
Well, we all feel for Bavacquas because it was one of those tough names to spell in school.
Yep.
Or even
how the hell did the teacher pronounce that?
Yeah, or the teacher pronouncing it incorrectly. You had to give her like a pronunciation guide. It's traumatizing if your name you start in school and your name is mispronounced. It's no. I don't have an E on the end of sharp. That's for only the bad sharps. The good sharps don't have an E.
What
Sorry,
do you think at some point though?
Do you?
Do you just go with it? Like if they've been calling you a certain last name?
No. I was stubborn. I would no. If they were misspelling my name, I called them out. I cried.
Well, it's more of the mispronouncing it. And you've seen this in covering student athletes a lot. I have, especially in hockey, where we'll find out the sophomore year that it was actually pronounced this. It's actually this. We're like, well, why the? And so first, as you would too, and Jimmy, you would too, we go to the SID like, you guys, why didn't you tell us this? Like, you're making us sound like a fool. We've been calling them this the whole time. They're like, yeah, that's what they told us it was last year. But then at some point, there was a conversation on the road, and they said, oh, by the way, actually, my last name is pronounced this. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be mean or anything. But that's what, most people used to call me that anyway. So I just kind of accept it. It's like, it's your name, man. It needs to be pronounced correctly. Speak up.
Yeah, there's a current Omaha men's basketball player that I, for the longest time, mispronounced his last name. And everybody thought that it was Broham. And last year, he either went to the SID or somebody said something, and they're like, no, it's Brom. I was like, God, your own player? Come on, Sharp. Yeah, it happens. All right, but it does not happen on this show. We have Sharp, Handley, and Chavez. Jimmy, I have an update coming up in the next hour. There's A lot of local sports this weekend, but because of the weather, it's all over the map. And the weather today, the weather tomorrow, and then it's going to be 70 on Sunday.
Yeah, go figure.
Welcome to Nebraska. It actually is April Fool's Day tomorrow, so.
Oh, it's no fun on a Saturday.
Yeah, in the radio business, for anybody that owns a radio station or programs a radio station, they're probably very glad that April Fool's Day happens on a Sunday.
Oh, man,
or
I
on
had
a weekend
ideas.
on a Saturday. Yeah, so you don't have any, gong show stuff going on.
Are you golfing on Sunday?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I know it might be a little trip to Bed Bath & Beyond, maybe the Olive Garden. We're missing the
Home
bread
Depot. Have enough time.
You did Costco last weekend, right?
I did.
Okay.
Wow. Were you stalking me?
Well, no, I
No,
just
you said
remember
it.
because of your cart story.
Oh,
You
yes,
talked
yes.
about Costco.
You teased
Yes,
us.
I did go to Costco.
I do remember the
God
cart
bless you for
story
that.
about your
Yeah.
abilities with the cart.
Yeah, I went to Costco, and you know what? So as we get up to the line, and they move you through, it's like a cattle call at Costco.
They're
I
good.
mean, if you don't go to the self-service, which is becoming very popular, and that's usually where the longest line is, and you're like, you know what? I'll have some human interaction. They move you through. Zip, zip, zip. It's also more difficult to steal stuff in the checkout line where there's actual person. Like, you can't stash stuff underneath. Not
Oh,
that I
sorry,
would do
man.
that, but I see it all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had this move pulled on me. Hey, I need to go over here and look at this. I'll be right back. And I'm like, hey, you know what? We're like 2 behind. It's fine because we're going to split what we were getting. Yeah. When did she come back? I've already paid. Yeah.
That's
I was like, oh man, that's usually my move. I just got that move pulled on me.
you can do that at the smaller grocery store and be back in time. You can't do that at Costco.
Yeah, that was.
You
I
get
knew
swallowed up by you get swallowed up by the crowd there.
I knew what she was up to. All right, 36 past the hour. Also, we will discuss what we might need to look for. I think Nebraska is going to scrimmage tomorrow, 2 weeks into spring football. So what do we want to hear out of the things that will be leaked out of a spring football? And Frank Solich made a funny. All of that to come. 951-1620. Well, his personality is fantastic. I mean, he was asked about curses, asked about Steve Peterson, didn't want to go there. We'll go there, though. Outside of Steve Peterson, the only other person involved in the history of Nebraska football that will not be invited back ever.
Yep.
Is it recent? Chew on that. We'll get into that a little bit later. We roll till 10. Shafe and Sip will join us on the show. Nick's in Chicago. Jimmy and I are in studio here at 1620. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on the Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Remember, no matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone.
The cigar enthusiasts at Hearth Cigars and Pipes are a pretty diverse bunch of humans. Some enjoy an adult beverage or two, others pass the time with a competitive yet friendly game of dominoes. Still others enjoy shooting some pool downstairs, while more than a few are just satisfied with each other's company. The common thread with all of them is the awesomeness that is their favorite cigar from the humidor. Hearth Cigars and Pipes, just off the 48th Street exit from I-680 at the corner of Mormon Bridge Road and McKinley, and at hearthcigars.com.
Ever walk through a door and see all the trucks? Yeah, it's kind of like that at Gretna Auto Outlet. Half-ton trucks, three-quarter-ton trucks, dualies, gas or diesel. Gretna Auto Outlet will be happy to show it to you. They don't call it truck heaven for nothing, you know. Stop in the climate-controlled comfort of the indoor showroom or online with the virtual showroom at GretnaAuto.com. Gretna Auto Outlet, open Sundays too, just north of Nebraska Crossing on Highway 6 in Gretna.
Nerds, here at NerdWallet, we often see people wrestle with financial decisions.
Mike is in the ring, up against his nemesis, indecision. Mike can't decide the best way to save his money, and indecision has him boxed in. But wait, Mike can't get NerdWallet.
Whew, let's go. With NerdWallet's side-by-side comparisons, you can find a high-yield savings account with interest rates that earn more bank for your buck. So the next time you wrestle with a financial decision, you'll come out on top. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Tired of having a website that doesn't reflect the quality of your brand? At JM Online, we specialize in custom websites for unique business needs. Your website should be more than just a digital billboard. It should be a powerful tool that grows your business. Awarded Omaha's best web developers in 2023, we're dedicated to local business success. So if you're ready to take your website to the next level, go to jmonline.com and request a call.
At Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Midlands, one youth, one mentor, plus one moment could unlock limitless potential. When you sign up to become a mentor, you are matched one-to-one with a child in the greater Omaha community, a child with big potential. There are over 130 youth waiting for a big like you. Sign up today at mentoromaha.org. Once again, that's mentoromaha.org.
Lanahaw Nurseries has been your dependable full-service source for locally grown trees, plants, and landscape materials. Rooted in tradition, our products and services are consistently ranked best of Omaha in quality and value. From design to install, our experts are here to help bring your landscape vision to life. Start your next project this weekend. Visit us at 192nd and Center. Lanahaw Nurseries, your homegrown headquarters since 1974.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 11th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let us handle all the details steps away on the south side of Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination. Blur Events takes care of all the work so you can enjoy the day.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Welcome back in. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Split show today. Nick is in Chicago, hanging out in his brother-in-law's basement. Do they have animals or kids in that house that may come in while you're on the air that create some fantastic content? That
Is
could go
Verse
viral?
somewhere up there? Did he crash on a couch?
That was, and I forgot to mention that as we entered Chicago, you could feel the spirit of Verse. The spirits.
Just exchanging some info last night. Go
Yep.
Cubs, go.
Yes, we do. So our son made the trip, but we also have two nieces, right all around the same age. So we've got an infant and two toddlers. So they're probably stirring right about now. And there is a dog named Zool. So we could see Zool at some point. We could see Reese. We could see the other kids.
There is no
Yeah.
Dana, only Zool.
What kind of a dog is Zool?
Zool's kind of a mutt, but I would say it almost looks like it has a little German Shepherd in it. It's a very chill. He was a rescue dog. He's awesome, and but he's extremely chill. But yeah, I would say almost a little bit of German Shepherd in it.
Hey, quick update. I know you were traveling yesterday. You maybe didn't see it, but your girl, Gwyneth Paltrow, was
Oh,
found innocent.
she was.
Or as I like to say, she was Gwynnocent. Thank you. I will be here till 10.
First hour.
So she's not held liable or whatever the hell that was, because I had for
No, she got $1, and I guess she passed the person that was suing her on the way out of the courtroom and said, "Good luck." It's kind of a boss move. That was
Wow.
ridiculous that was even going on. But we've cleared that off the path. We got a lot of other stuff that
It
is
was the trial of the century, apparently.
A little bit later, Mike Schaefer will stop by. There is some movement with Dylan Raiola and maybe Nebraska's plan B at quarterback. Also, Steve Sipple will make his way into the show. It is WrestleMania weekend, along with the Final Four weekend. We talked about Major League Baseball. The time, 2 hours and 45 minutes, down 18 minutes from opening day last year. On the Twitter machine, and this is so, you only have one national game last night, and my attention after my team played, and the Royals game was over as well. So I was looking for something to watch last night. And so I found the Tennessee LSU college baseball game. It's on the bucket list to go to a game at the box.
Mm-hmm.
Our one of our P1s, Kellyanne, who is a diehard LSU fan, who's got the legendary College World Series tailgate, she was there last night. I'm like, that's awesome. There were 13,000 people for game one between LSU and Tennessee, and they had a fantastic pitching matchup. They had probably 50 to 75 Major League Baseball scouts that were in attendance in Baton Rouge. We have to find a way. Like, we're not going to get Mississippi State and Ole Miss to come back, because I know Mississippi State still hasn't won a game in the SEC. I don't think Ole Miss has won a game in the SEC as well. So those are your last two champions. We're getting LSU this year. We are going to get LSU in Omaha for the College World Series, and we need to, because probably the number one overall pick, Dylan Cruz, now the Major League Baseball draft isn't until a month after the College World Series. So it creates a little bit of, some even more excitement on who are the top draft picks that are playing in the series. We need LSU. We're going to get LSU, and we're going to get Dylan Cruz playing here, and it's going to be fantastic. I was like, wow, I miss those kind of opening nights of conference play, watching LSU and Tennessee play last night.
Yeah, that's one that is probably must-see TV, and if you get a chance to watch it this weekend as well, because I'm assuming you're going to have plenty of opportunities to see that. Look, I said this a year ago, though, and it was easy for the villain role to sometimes be poo-pooed a little bit when we pretend that, well, we want all 8 teams in the College World Series are teams that we can all get behind and just feel. We need some Tony Vitello in the College World Series. We need a little bit of the Tennessee swag.
I was
and
crushed.
Just guys who
I was crushed when they got beat by Notre Dame.
What's that?
I was crushed when they got beat by Notre Dame, because I wanted him here. I wanted. We do need the villain in the College World Series where they also play into the role,
and they do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they do.
Yeah, like men's Final Four this weekend. Is UConn the villain? We need a villain, but we would have had Tennessee plays the villain role very well.
I'm with you though. You got to lean into it. Sometimes
and they do.
You got to be the leader.
You can sometimes be like labeled the villain, but the guys are kind of like palms up like and oh no, Tennessee's like yeah we are, and what are you going to do about it? Because we're pretty good too. That was a big miss, and I think if they were part of the field of 8, I think people would have. I think they don't realize how much they would have enjoyed it, because you saw it and I saw it, and they still got some dudes.
No, people would have hated them.
Exactly.
That was my team. I was trying to will them here to the College World Series. Yeah, people would have absolutely hated the act of Tennessee. I don't think they've really calmed it down. They still bat flips and they celebrate and all the good stuff about having fun in the game of baseball. Yeah. Man, I would. We're going to get LSU, and LSU is really, really good. They won last night, 5-2, I think.
And LSU, look, we know how that's always going to impact the fans too. But when I sometimes buy into the, hey, when Team X is good, it's good for Sport X. I have no problem whatsoever buying into when LSU is good and when LSU is actually relevant in the college baseball conversation. It's great for college baseball. Obviously, it's great for Omaha, but it's great for college baseball.
Zach writes in, the pitch clock has also positively affected the college game as well. I'll save that tweet from Pudgy691 until the College World Series when ESPN's commercial load sucks the life out of the College World Series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, think of the worst stop and go traffic you've ever had.
But it does put an onus on the college game because I think people are really going to appreciate the first time you go to a major league game this year, or you've been to like Warner Park where they've had the pitch clock for a while. You appreciate the pace of the game, where the dead time has been kind of stomped out, excuse me. When you get to the college game, if you still have these long, just drug out innings, and again, guys in college don't throw consistently as many strikes as guys that are paid to play, but still just the idle time that is eliminated with guys stepping out of the box, guys not on the rubber, all of that stuff. If we can eliminate that in college and even with guys that consistently can't, find the strike zone, I'm okay with that. That's the thing. It's just eliminating just the useless, we're out of the batter's box, we adjust the gloves, we're not on the rubber, we dilly-dally around. You're getting rid of that stuff. You make it more enjoyable to watch as a fan, whether you're in person or at home. And here's the other thing that I keep alluding to is because not everybody is sharing the same sentiment that we all are about the pitch clock. Our email box is littered with people that are like, this is it. No. World Baseball Classic didn't have a pitch clock. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it also has not affected the game. The game is still pretty good. I don't think Adley Rutschman was affected yesterday by the pace of the Oriole Red Sox game. He promptly went 5 for 5 and was on base 6 times.
Have a day, Adley.
Ohtani calling his own pitches and striking out 10. I don't think he was adversely affected by a pitch clock. It's going to make the product better. And it's looking long-term of, okay, will this have an impact on people watching or people saying, you know what, or younger kids, I want to play baseball. Baseball looks fun. Baseball doesn't look boring. Baseball doesn't, I like to play other sports because we're always going. We're always doing something. Maybe I'm attracted to baseball, whether I'm going to a game, watching a game on TV, which can be laborsome when you're watching it on TV because it seems like on TV, you're sitting on your couch, it takes forever. Or, you know what, Dad, I want to pick up a glove. Let's go outside, let's play catch. Or I'd like to play baseball. I mean, all of this is like looking long-term, but I was thrilled with what happened in baseball yesterday. That was fantastic. Now there's still the growing pains because I still don't understand what happened in the Mets Marlins game with McNeil and Alonso.
Well, real quickly on the pace of play thing too, and this is a completely far back observation when it comes to a sport that I hate saying I'm not a fan of, I don't get into, and that's soccer. But for any parents out there that have young kids, one of the first sports that they ever play is soccer. Why? Because there's constant movement. It's a chance to kind of get your energy out. And I do think though there is something that kind of carries with you when it comes to your interest in sport. When you are constantly moving, even if it's this huge field where you're trying to cover a lot of ground, you're constantly moving. There's constantly action going on as far as the individual player and your teammates. That actually does mean something. And I don't know if you experienced this when you went to the Creighton, Nebraska game recently, but also last Friday when Nebraska played Illinois. They're really emphasizing in between the innings as far as the clock there too. And when we got to the ninth inning, maybe it was because it was from a different perspective where I was used to doing the radio part of it. I was doing the PA part of it. It went by fast. And that game, it had some runs early, and then it kind of stabilized a little bit where there wasn't a lot of runs, but then there were more runs there towards the end of the game. So the game itself actually kind of probably led you to a quicker game. But again, you talk about pace, where you're not focused on the actual time of it, but the pace. It was noticeable then, even in between innings, where the umpires, and you've got that clock, you've got that visual, you're holding both teams accountable of that, and everybody's getting in and out. You're not starting an inning until you get to those last 20 seconds on the clock. Like, having that type of structure too, it is, you said idle time. Just that alone, I thought was very noticeable and I thought very enjoyable. Again, for someone like myself, and I know you have some old school baseball ways in you as well.
Oh, come on. I'm a bat flip guy.
But yeah, I mean, but there are ways to make this thing, you know, where you're not fundamentally changing the game, where all of a sudden it's not recognizable. Like the pitch clock and the clocks just to keep things moving. And as you mentioned, I like the word just reducing idle time. No idle time. How did that doesn't fundamentally change the game. That's good for the game. And I think that continues to interest people if you can still go that route.
Are you telling me that the Dizzy Bat race is going to be sped up?
A little bit, and which will be even more fun. Think about how freaking dizzy and just in complete disarray that individual is going to be.
Josh on the stream, Bucks and Cubs making a strong push for the coveted NL Central Division title. They both won yesterday.
Yep.
Just saying. Marcus Stroman looked good. Dansby Swanson, 3 for 4.
Pirates and Cubs. What is this, 1989?
No, recently. The Cubs and the Pirates played in a wild card game.
That's true.
That is true.
I can get behind. I can get behind it.
Maybe it was when Garrett Cole was with the Pirates.
I was saying yesterday that we were talking about the Reds, and I talked about the Pirates. Like I miss them being good. But that's because when I was a kid, these were teams that were always good. And I know it was a different time, but the Pirates are one of those teams that be like, you know what? Hey, new blood. We made our predictions yesterday, and then I kept thinking after, what is that team that could be never saw that coming? Or sometimes it's a player you never saw that coming in.
Hey, worlds colliding. How about in the White Sox Astro game? Aaron Bummer is on the mound.
Yeah.
And he throws a wild pitch. Jake Myers was at the plate.
Mm-hmm.
It was Husker on Husker
that
crime
was cool.
that led to the first run in.
You guys realize the Rockies won yesterday too, okay? So
hey,
let's
now
not get ahead of ourselves.
Now I know, and some teams are going to win 162 games, some are going to lose 162. The Rockies were involved in a weird game yesterday, winning against San Diego. They had 17 hits and 17 strikeouts. Last year, the most hits they had on the road was 14.
I'm going to change my prediction on San Diego.
It's a lot of strikeouts.
One other thing that Josh has on the stream, I don't know much, Gary. Josh, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit on a Feel Good Friday. But it's safe to say we're all going to die.
You heard it here first.
Now, there's more. There's more. No. Never trust a fart past the age of 40. Something I've never really thought about, but I'll give some thought to it. Thanks, Josh. And Bo will never be invited back. So Frank has come back. Steve Peterson will never, ever come back. I don't even know where Steve Peterson is. He left and went to Pittsburgh, went back to Pittsburgh, and he's a guy that has completely fallen off the grid. Not even a sighting. Somebody says, hey, guess who I ran into? Guess who I'm working with?
Yeah.
Nothing. I think even if they asked Bo, he would not come back.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I'm good.
But there is part of this discussion, and Frank is a different kind of scenario because of his involvement in Nebraska football and maybe the way it ended, because it was ended by somebody who will never be invited back. But now that we're opening the door for people of the Nebraska football program that have drifted away to reel back in, on the other side, the positive side, who would be the next person you would send the olive branch out to? I mean, Sue has come back. I think they would like to have more involvement from Sue, but he's a busy guy. But he has come back. There's a lot of former players that you'll see will come back. They had reportedly 175 former players at their practice last Saturday. Somebody tweeted at me yesterday and they said, hey, don't you think it's time to bring Jamal Lord back? I said, have you not been to a spring game? One of those guys on the sidelines that's messing around, Jamal Lord's been back. Jamal Lord's been back plenty of times. But who will be the next one that Trev will go? Because this meant a lot to Trev. This was like Trev's quest to have Frank say yes. Is there another person out there? I've contended. I would like to see Tom Rathman come back.
Hey, all right.
Tom Rathman now that, he's been busy, he was coaching, he's in the horse business. I don't know that he comes back to Nebraska that often. I could be wrong, but there's somebody that I would like to see, like come back, be honored at a game.
That's a good one because does he? And this is where you get so far removed from a class of players. Is it just one of those feelings of, oh, these guys know that they're always welcome back, as opposed to, hey, we got to continue to make a concerted effort to try to, you know, find a game or find a moment that we can recognize them for what they've done, not only for us, but what they also did at the professional level. Like, do you just get so far removed from some of those classes and from some of those alum that you just assume, well, they know they always have an open door, and it's just kind of that? Because there's certain players, and I think Rathman would fit into that, certain players that you've got to make a concerted effort to say, hey, this is more than just open door policy. We want to, during the first TV time out of the first quarter, we want to recognize you. I don't know. I don't know if there is that concerted effort for some of those players, especially ones that, you get out of the 80s and you get, even maybe some of the early 90s players where it's just you're a little bit more further removed from them.
Well, here's that's a really good point, because maybe not necessarily, hey, we want to honor you during that first TV timeout and we're going to bring you out to the 10-yard line and Nate Rohr is going to give you this big announcement and you're going to wave to the crowd. But what about subtly at a practice? Here's another guy, man, if you could pull this off, you would be permanently hussed. If you could get Roger Craig and Tom Rathman back at Nebraska.
Yep.
I mean, I don't
hell of a backfield.
I don't think Roger Craig has been back. I don't even know that I remember a time where somebody said, "Hey, Roger Craig is back in Lincoln."
That says something.
And
you would know.
And he also may, the way his career ended at Nebraska with kind of getting pushed to the side by Rozier, he may not have a desire to come back, but he's always represented Nebraska. He hasn't like shied away of, I went to Nebraska and I played there and, I got this guy in my backfield with me with the Niners. But those would be two guys that like me personally would love to see back. I wonder if current players would know anything about them.
They should. They were damn good.
That's a good question. I mean, I would say of course they would, but it's been a while.
I mean, if you brought Turner Gill, Irving Fryer, and Mike Rozier back, I mean, Rozier's there all the time, but you included like a Roger Craig.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Like Turner's another one that, now he's involved with Arkansas, but Turner Gill hasn't been back much.
40-year anniversary of that 83 team this year.
Ooh, good thinking, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there we go. We may have solved this dilemma.
Could we bring back Sam Keller? I mean, EA Sports pioneer.
Yeah.
No?
I think people would probably pass on.
All right, just asking.
That would be an odd sighting in Lincoln.
I wouldn't recognize him.
Build it up this big announcement.
Milling about the stadium, and I would have no idea.
Now, another guy that I don't think has come back or really anybody has reached out is Taylor Martinez.
Yep. Say what you will about Taylor. Freaking exciting. When things broke down, talk about a roller coaster.
The Washington game and the K-State game, right away pops in my mind.
His track speed is still.
He likes playing road games.
Very
His
true.
track speed, man. That was still something. And
he didn't like
say what you will.
All off of a comment about never trusting a fart after the age of 40.
That's how you tie it all together.
Is that on WebMD?
I don't want to look it up because then I'd be convinced I'm going to die. Well, wait, that's in the comment. So yeah, I guess we're covered.
Think about it though. He ain't wrong.
Remember the slogan for today, Jimmy. It's Feel Good Friday. This is not Morbid Friday.
All right.
Hour number 2 is coming up. Nixon's to Chicago. Jimmy and I are in studio. Mike Schaefer, Steve Sipple, a little bit later on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620, The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown near 120th and L. Then on Dodge, be prepared for a very minor slowdown from 94th to 90th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Lus Hills Harley-Davidson.
Riding season is here, and it's time to trade in and trade up. Or, if you ain't riding it, Lus Hills Harley-Davidson is buying it. Sell your Harley-Davidson today. Lus Hills Harley-Davidson. Rise up and ride on.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has come to the attention of the Nebraska Lottery that when people hear a radio commercial in their car for one of our lotto games, Powerball, Mega Millions, or Lucky for Life, they tend to begin daydreaming about how they'll spend the prize money if they win, instead of paying attention to the road. So please, when I tell you that Nebraska Lottery lotto games offer big money and big fun, keep your mind on driving. Do not start thinking about all the things you could buy if you win. Things like bright red sports cars, tropical vacations, 100-inch TVs, hot tubs, SUVs, a new computer, motorboats.
Bob, snap out of it.
Oh, good heavens. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. Perhaps I should go home now.
You better let me drive.
Lotto games from the Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds vary by game.
Hey, everybody, it's Michael Severe for Ted and Wally's, 2 locations in the Old Market and, of course, in Benson as well. You know what goes great with college basketball and the College Basketball National Championship? Ice cream, and great ice cream from Ted and Wally's. It's the perfect treat. Seasonal flavors as well, over 3,000 flavors. You can check out all the flavors on social media every single day. It's Ted and Wally's, 2 locations in Benson and, of course, in the Old Market as well. Enjoy your basketball and your ice cream from Ted and Wally's.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620thezone.
This is the official station of the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament in Omaha. Follow all the action from first tip-off to the final buzzer right here. Westwood One's coverage of March Madness is locally presented by Woodhouse Auto Family and is also brought to you locally by John Higgins Weather Guard, Omaha Athletics, and Ted and Wally's Premium Ice Cream on Omaha's home for America's favorite tournament, 1620, The Zone.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. And is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays. It's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
I thought learning a language would be too much work. Then I discovered Babbel. They make learning fun. J'aime Babel.
Babbel's lessons only take 10 or 15 minutes. Quick and easy. And soon, you turn and realize, hey, I'm starting to speak another language. How'd that happen?
My friend from Italy said my accent and pronunciation is perfect. It's because Babbel's lessons are designed by language teachers and voiced by real native speakers. Each lesson is like living in another country for 15 minutes.
I love that there's all kinds of ways to learn. Babbel's podcast or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
You learn words and phrases you actually use in real conversations.
In 3 weeks, I was starting to speak in another language. So easy.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than Babbel.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Colon cancer is the second leading cancer killer in the U.S. Nebraska ranks 32nd in screening rates with only 58%. Get up to date on your screening. Colon cancer screening can prevent cancer from occurring and save lives. The Colon Cancer Task Force is providing free at-home kits for Nebraska residents age 45 to 74. For your free screening kit, visit OmahaColonKit.com. That's OmahaColonKit.com.
Tickets for Less. Best seats, best prices, no per-ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hour number 2. Thank you, Tom. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Lucas in Chicago. We're here in Omaha. The future looks bright for Isaac Trout. Should be, I think it'll be during our show that we'll get one of those edits of his commitment to Creighton. That should happen today. It is, as they say in the world of news, imminent.
I like that, imminent.
So one of the worst kept secrets will be no longer a secret later. I think this morning. I think we would be hoping that it happens during the 6 to 10 hour.
Got the breaking news thing ready to go.
Nice.
But and I just discussing with some people last night because we're talking about, well, Nebraska's starting five. What are they going to look like next year? What's Creighton's starting five going to look like? Like what a guy like Isaac Trout, who's 6'10", and was spent a year, not a full year, but in the strength and conditioning program at Virginia, where he had to get stronger. What's he going to be like? Is he going to play the 4? Is he going to play the 5? How will he fit a role in that offense? And I was, well, actually, it was Bigelow. Him and I were discussing, because Nebraska has got some options in the portal and the way they're trying to construct their roster. And I posed the question to him. Here's another outside of Lincoln, Omaha kid that will not be going to Nebraska. So you have 2 central Nebraska kids. I mean, Creighton's going to have a roster. They have a kid from Aurora and a kid from Grand Island playing on it, which 15 years ago, 20 years ago would have seemed not possible. The Nebraska would have 2 guys fly over Lincoln and end up in Omaha, but that's the current state. And I said to him, and I don't know how you feel, Nick, this is, kind of people have been hearing my vibe, our discussion on the air, whoever they know, that this has been trending for a while, that Creighton is going to get another in-state product, and Nebraska is going to go 0 for 2 with Isaac Trout. And I said to Jacob, how do you think people are going to handle it? And he goes, I think they've come to the realization that, yeah, it just makes sense. It makes sense that if you're an in-state kid, even currently being recruited in high school, and again, it just reminds you that Sam Griesel is an outlier, or on a bounce back, that the place in Omaha is better than the place in Lincoln. That's just the reality right now. And the only thing you can control, if you're Fred Hoiberg in that program, is give people a reason to say yes to Nebraska, or on a bounce back, say yes to Nebraska. And it can't be just NIL.
Yeah, I long for the day that we're actually pissed off about that, where Nebraska fans are actually pissed off that you've got a kid from Central Western, hell, even in Lincoln, that decides to go to Omaha as opposed to Lincoln. Because I think Jacob's right. I think right now there is that acceptance of, yeah, that's just how it is right now. And I don't think you have to look at the 2 situations and really try to dig too much deeper into it than what we know the standard is in Creighton, even on a transitional year, if they're having one, of what that could look like compared to Nebraska that always seems to be in transition. Yeah, and that's the thing that I can applaud Mac for, and the thing that we can still kind of scratch our head about for Nebraska, because I've always said this, and Sharpie, you know this to be true for as many years as you've been not only a follower of the program, but a fan growing up as well. There's always been that feeling with Nebraska, at least recently, of Nebraska basketball, that nobody's asking them to conquer the world. There is a time that you'll hear from other fan bases when it comes to football, like your guys' your expectations are unrealistic. You're unreasonable. You need to drop that standard and you need to think more realistic in what is modern day athletics. Basketball, it has never been the case. There is not one person I've never heard, and if I've ever met or if they exist, I don't think I do want to meet them, of saying, well, Nebraska needs to find themselves in a Final Four. Nebraska needs to find themselves in a Sweet 16. No, all we want to see is this program make the NCAA tournament, say 2 out of a 5-year stretch. And when you're not in there, you're part of the conversation. And oh yeah, can we get a win in the NCAA tournament? Out of 68 teams and being being the only Power 6 team that has never won an NCAA tournament game. How is that an unrealistic, unreasonable expectation? Yet it always seems like it's a transition. It's a transition, and there's been some bad luck along the way. I'll fully admit that, especially in the Tim Miles era, where you brought back maybe a talented team and then you maybe get an injury here or maybe somebody leaves, so it's tough to sustain any type of real continuity. But that's been the issue, is it's always in flux. And you can go all the way back to Barry Collier into Doc. Tim Miles had those moments as well. And we're seeing it with Fred, and now trying to forecast what this thing could look like next year. And you're thinking about the guys that are available. Of course, we immediately think of the in-state ones and the ones that maybe we're kind of hearing how cool it was in February at Pinnacle Bank Arena and how fun that was to compete there in this little heater that Nebraska got on. But at the end of the day, you're looking at what's happening in Omaha. You're looking at that team being literally a minute away from going to the Final Four and having a damn good shot at playing on, as I like to say, Masters Week, playing on that championship Monday. It's your brain gets the better of you and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I don't think there's anybody that Nebraska basketball fans that are overly pissed off about it, and that's kind of a problem right now.
Well, you do ride the roller coaster of the portal because the next guy comes around. The Nebraska football with in-state kids, and Fred's kind of coming on the heels of not a great relationship between the Nebraska basketball program and in-state kids. So, Fred's walking into a situation that's been lingering for a while, but Miles to Sadler to Collier, even though they had at times collection of in-state kids, they never really gave you a reason to, hey, I got to go there, unless you were a fan of Nebraska basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, you guys are sending people to the NBA. That's why I look at right now with Hoiberg is there's two things can be true. Next year is a sense of urgency. I think it's a make or break. But a guy like Fred at a place like Nebraska that wants basketball to pop so bad and to have so much support if it pops, those opportunities to get it to pop, you hope are not running out. If you go from 10 wins to 16 wins to whatever next year looks like. But Nebraska football, and there's we didn't have a great year of top-end high school basketball talent in state this year. The best player by far, Josiah Doetzler, goes to Creighton. But we had the run of Hunter, we had the run of Trout, we had the run of Chucky. So we had a stretch where we're like, whoa, there are D1 guys, regardless of what city they're in the state. And it was pretty great. And, the next couple of years is going to be kind of quiet. Jaden Jackson is atop that list for next year, and he's currently at Bellevue West. But, Nebraska football and Matt Rule's staff are also kind of walking into some mishandling of in-state products under Scott Frost, under Mike Riley. I can appreciate this, and this is where maybe I'm off on comparing basketball and football, Nick. Nebraska football has gone with the approach of we're not going to burn bridges. We're going to acknowledge that, hey, we would have recruited you. And Zane Flores is the prime example here. Basically, Marcus Satterfield apologized and said, players like you, we're not going to let leave the state anymore. But they, extend, hey, I'm not going to all of a sudden try and convince you that we're new and you should come here. We're just going to say, thank you, you're a really good player, because they're looking for the bounce back. It's going to be the same way with Dylan Raiola. If he says no to Nebraska, they're not going to burn the bridge. They're not going to pout. They're not going to go, kicking and screaming.
Like, we'll be here.
Just You've got to keep the bounce back open and say, hey, you made the decision that was best for you. But you know what? If that decision turns out not to be the right place, we're open. Okay. If you feel like you want to come home, man, we're open for you. That's the way they approached a guy like Zane Flores. Is Nebraska basketball in a situation where those bounce back kids, which maybe they were not aggressively recruiting, they give them an option that, hey, you want to come back home? This is the place for you. And they remember the relationship they build up in recruiting. That's kind of the Isaac Trout. Now, I know he has a connection to Creighton, but it's, you know what? Creighton was one of the finalists, and the way they recruited him, and they didn't say, why are you going to Virginia? What? They're not going to properly use you the way that you should be used. They just said, you know what? That happens. You know what? It was great to get to know you. Good luck. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know down the road. Boom. What's going to happen today? Creighton's going to get the bounce back.
And it's such an interesting way. I would love to sit down with a coach that really hit it hard recruiting before the transfer portal, because I still feel that there was always probably part of this that existed where you're not recruiting for the now, you're recruiting for the later or for the bounce back. But now it's just if you're not doing it, then you're a bad recruiter. You might be a great coach, but as far as what you and your staff do, if you're not recruiting that way, where it's not only we want you now, but in the back of your head, we're like, okay, we got to also think about if we could get them later, knowing how volatile the transfer portal is. I would love to know if Nebraska basketball is trying to put themselves in that position as well, if that's how they're recruiting. And it's just odd because if you're Fred right now, you can't really think about that, right? Because you're not really probably worried about any in-state product right now that you're not going to get. And if we're just talking about a high school player, you're not going to get right now, but you could maybe in a year or two or three, because you got to win now. And so I think that does change a little bit of his thought process. I don't know about his assistant coaches too. You always hear, hey, we're going at it business as usual. We're not feeling that sense of urgency. We're not going to compromise how we go about building a roster based on any type of pressure that people are telling us exists for this year. But we know that that is the case. You would be a fool not to look at how you can make this year the most successful and try to go about that. It's always a scary proposition, but I would doubt that right now Fred's top priority is thinking about the bounce back type of guy, thinking about when you're recruiting that you got to also make sure that you haven't burned that bridge. If he is, good on him, but I also understand he's not worried about that right now. He's got to put the most competitive product for the 2023-24 season that he can.
Yeah, I agree. The Matt Rule approach is fascinating to me. That was a story that was shared with me when the new staff took over, and the first time that Marcus Satterfield went to Gretna, they wanted to meet Zane. And he knows what the show is. He's already committed to Oklahoma State. Okay, here's another Nebraska coach that wants to convince me that I'm making the wrong decision. And it wasn't that. He just wanted to meet him and say, congratulations, you've had a heck of a career. You're a baller. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit on what was relayed to me. And just said, hey, we wish you the best. You made the choice that was, the smart one for you. And if things don't work out, know that we're here for you. I mean, not a, hey, you scorned us and you're going out of state and we recruited you and look at everything we did for you. You know what? Everybody has to make the right decision for themselves. And we're in a day and age of 4 of the last, 7 Heisman Trophy winners are portal guys. Mm-hmm. That bounce back is going to become even more important in recruiting. Hey, we didn't win. We didn't get your commitment the first time. But if you want to, make that second commitment down the road, we're here for you. And I never sensed that. Scott's staff in recruiting, when they would lose an in-state kid, they would be pissed.
Mm-hmm. Took it personal.
Yeah, they would like, you know what? Were you not vibing with, hey, help us run it back. We're going to, create the success of the 90s. They were always mad. Mm-hmm. Instead of, hey, we did our best. You made the decision that is best for you. That's okay. So the kid has a better feeling of, okay, you know what? I'm not thinking, oh, it's not going to work out in Stillwater or Eugene or Iowa City.
That's ironic too, considering the coach did it too.
They're like, you know what? Okay, that's very nice of you because that was a tough call to say, hey, I'm not coming to Nebraska. Hey, thanks, coach. I appreciate everything you did. So Matt Rule's approach, and I think also knowing you're not going to get every kid you want in this state. That's something to watch down the road, because there's a lot of out-of-state guys that are pretty good ballers that are elsewhere that maybe after 2 or 3 years they decide it's not for me, and they come back to the in-state school towards a staff that did not recruit them because they weren't here when they were in high
Sharp,
school.
let me ask you a question. When you were 16, 17, 18 years old, did you try to avoid really awkward conversations as much as you could?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I do that 30 years later.
But I mean, think about when what you're probably walking into. Okay, the new OC for Nebraska wants to talk to me. I'm not going there. I like what I've committed to with Oklahoma State. God, this is going to be kind of awkward. Oh gosh, you're probably dreading that a little bit. And then what you just laid out there, he completely disarms you with good on you, man. Good on you. Think about that type of feeling of just relief of, okay, I don't have to have this very awkward conversation. I don't have to listen to a hard sell, because it's tough for 16 and 17-year-olds to say no, or 18-year-olds even to say no when someone's hard selling you, just because you don't know how the world works yet and you don't want to piss anybody off. There's a few people, there's probably a few teenagers out there that could do it and just be completely blunt, but most of us, we don't want to have that conversation. So we're just going to tell you what you want to hear just to kind of get out of it. But when you have it presented to you like that, the way that you described it a couple months back, that was the first thing I thought of, is how relieved that Zane Flores must have been to know that this isn't going to be a hard sell. This is more of a, hey, this is who we are. Just congratulations. And you probably walk away as that kid is, wow.
Yeah,
That was kind of cool.
You have a better taste in your mouth instead of this, hey, they messed up. We're new.
Right.
How do we get this conversation? I mean, that Zane and his family, I mean, they're very loyal, and they, stuck with their commitment. He's now, he was an early enrollee down in Stillwater. It's going to watch if Dylan Raiola and, Steve Wiltfong has put in a crystal ball with a confidence number of 6 to Georgia for Dylan. He's already canceled his trip to the spring game. He's canceled his unofficials. His only official is to Georgia in June. When Mike Schaefer, who is really the first and only media guy that went crystal ball on Raiola, is kind of like, it's going to be a blow for Nebraska, but how they handle it will say a lot about Matt Rule. Instead of going, take down that framed Detroit Lions jersey. It's, hey, we did our best. We took our best shot, and you've got to do what's best for you. But know that we've really enjoyed getting to know everybody during this process. And if there's anything we can do for you, you know where to find us. And good luck, man. We want to watch you ball out. You don't think that would stick with a kid that you had to make that difficult phone call to a coach when maybe it gets difficult and lonely in year 2 and 3 and you're not playing and you're disgruntled, and you remember that down the road? Yeah, that's an approach that I don't think is unique to Nebraska. I think in the world of the portaling, whether college basketball, all the sports that have portaling now, you used to be angry when you would lose a commitment because look at all the time we put in, and you led us down a path, and we thought we had you, and I mean, come on. Now it's, you know what? You win some, you lose some. But good luck, ball out, and we'll watch you. And if there's anything you need, you've been here before. You know us. We're not going anywhere.
And you know where Harrison Phillips.
That's what you have to do now.
Harrison Phillips probably, if he found himself not enjoying his time at Stanford, I guarantee you, if he had to make that decision, he was going to go to K-State. And I'll tell, and one of the reasons why, and we all heard about it too, because he talked more about that than almost his commitment to Stanford, was the letter that Bill Snyder wrote him, Kansas State was very much in on Harrison Phillips, and it was basically down to those two. And Bill Snyder, instead of being the all-wise Bill Snyder, he might get a little pissed off, might take it a little personal. He did the exact opposite and wrote him a handwritten letter congratulating him and thanking him to have the opportunity to meet him. And I remember all the things that Harrison Phillips talked about, and he was just like taken back like, holy cow, like that is not what I expected. I thought they would be, kind of ticked off and maybe, have some resentment, but you went the complete opposite. That leaves impressions on kids. So if it does come to that where you're not comfortable with your situation or something just happens that you didn't anticipate, you think immediately back to how those schools that were already in the running handled it. Did they handle it gracefully? Did they take it kind of personal? And that's where, again, we have to continue when we talk about roller coaster of any recruit. It's great to get the initial good news and what exactly you want for the roster, but you also have to sort of keep the perspective of the long game too, which every coach is having to play right now.
Look at the Final Four. The 4 teams, half of them were portal guys. I mean, there's a reason. And it's what you said. It's just all the relationships that you build. That if it doesn't
Well-
work out for you, you call, hey, coach, I made a mistake. Can we talk?
Well, Shape's coming up in an hour, and there is. I mean, you have to ride the roller coaster, and I wouldn't call it drama because that makes it look like the kid is creating drama. But it seems to be a sense that he's getting towards the finish line, and Nebraska's not waiting for him at the finish line. We may have gotten a plan B that ties into this conversation. So there's a quarterback, a 4-star quarterback that committed to South Carolina when Satterfield was the OC there, that all of a sudden Nebraska has interest in. So, when you're leaving, you don't burn the bridge and say, hey, bad decision. So we'll get into that. Shafe will join us coming up in an hour. Nick's in Chicago. Jimmy and I are in studio. Jimmy's got an update.
Yeah, Nebraska baseball this weekend, an odd doubleheader in Abilene, Texas, against A&M Corpus Christi and Abilene Christian tomorrow. We have changes all over the place. Omaha baseball begins a 3-game series with Northern Colorado at Tal Anderson. The game today has been moved up to 3 o'clock because of weather. You could just play it right now. You'd have a pretty nice morning. Day games tomorrow and Sunday. And then I love this from Creighton. This needs to be, you need a professional voiceover for this. And it says, due to extreme cooling that is expected to force the real feel into the upper 20s on Friday, March 31st, Creighton baseball has shifted its weekend series with St. Thomas. Friday's scheduled 6 o'clock game's been moved to a doubleheader on Saturday. The two teams will play a pair of 9-inning games beginning at 1 p.m. on Saturday, April 1st. Second game will start approximately 45 minutes following the conclusion, and then Sunday's series finale will be played on a beautiful 70-degree day at noon. Love that. Extreme cooling. That's what's coming later this evening in our fair metro area, along with a lot of wind. It'd be a small dog alert day for if you have a little one. It'll be blowing all over the place. Women's Final Four tonight, LSU and Virginia Tech, followed by the big showdown between Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and their respective teams. Florida Atlantic coach Dusty May is going to get paid. He will sign a long-term extension to remain with the school after taking the Owls on their improbable run to the Final Four. May's new deal is expected to be valued at more than $1 million per year, according to CBS. And if you read the story about, like you were talking about yesterday or the other day, about when he got there and he had buyer's remorse, it's a great story, not just the winning, but how everything seems to have worked out just fine for him in Boca. The news comes 2 days before the 9th-seeded Owls face San Diego State for the right to play in the national championship game. In his 37th season as head coach and his second career Final Four, 73 years young Miami coach Jim Larrañaga said yesterday he fully expects to return to the school next season. His former player, you remember this guy, Tony Skinn, who helped lead George Mason to the Final Four 17 years ago as a player, was hired yesterday as the coach at his alma mater. He replaces Kimmy English, who left George Mason for Providence after Ed Cooley left for Georgetown. Congratulations to North Texas. They beat fellow Conference USA foe UAB 68-61 last night to claim the program's first NIT championship. Conference USA's had a good March. It was the 4th NIT championship game to feature conference opponents, the first in 20 years. Conference USA is now 18-2 in the NCAA postseason, with Charlotte winning the CBI and, of course, FAU's run to the Final Four, and the WNIT championship tomorrow afternoon at Fog Allen, Kansas, and Columbia. They're trying to sell out the building.
You going?
No,
Okay.
we're not going.
All right.
No. Yeah. I did get asked if I was going. I was like, no, I'm not going.
I figured they'd hook you up with some good seats too.
I mean, they would if I were going, but no. Let's see. You gotta space out your trips and
Jimmy, you on this show talk about how much a lot of that team that's playing for a title tomorrow means to you, and
Is
you
this the
won't
guilt
be
trip?
there for the NIT championship game. You won't help pack Allen Fieldhouse for a big moment. I start to question how much they really mean to you.
Ah, okay, guilt trip. I get this. No, we're going to see the in-laws this weekend. That was previously
Oh,
scheduled.
okay. That's fair.
Yeah. Otherwise, it was considered, and not just by me, but whatever. But hey,
Okay.
only a few teams get to finish their season on a win, and they have a chance to do that. And credit to them because they were heartbroken after missing the tournament, and instead of feeling sorry for themselves, they gathered it all together and they went on a heater. So good on them. Hopefully, they'll have a good day.
Let's see how you snuck WNIT in there.
I mean, it combined with the NIT, and think
good.
I'm being a homer. I'm not. It's just the stuff going on.
Yeah, you're a homer. It's okay, and you can admit to it.
Yeah.
34 past the hour. Thanks, Jimmy. Mike Schaefer coming up in about an hour. Steve Sipple as mornings on the Zone. Sharp and Handley, 1620 the Zone. All right, baseball day number 2. So a full day of baseball yesterday. There's only 4 games today. Thank you, Manfred. But there may be grand slams, there may be no hitters, there may be double plays, and there's no better place to get on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's because right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/zone, sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets, Nick, if you don't win. Also, if you don't win, you got plenty of chances. Don't miss your chance on the no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Nick has already gone to FanDuel. He's downloading it right now. He's inserted the promo code ZONE after you sign up. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. 21 and over, present Iowa. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Refund issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on The Crossover.
Pat is a former air traffic controller. Pat, what's going on?
So an air traffic controller can get you from point A to point B and steer you away from mountains, cliffs, large buildings, but they're not going to be able to teach you how to land a plane.
Okay. That makes it a little bit more difficult. So Happer and Nick are wrong, Pat, right? That's basically what you're saying? No.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
We're wrong.
Perfect.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620. The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Changes are on the way Friday. Very warm and windy start to the day. We will see temperatures climb into the mid to upper 60s around noon. Then temperatures will fall through the afternoon and evening hours as northwest winds pick up, gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour into the nighttime hours. There is a slight chance for a shower or storm in the afternoon. Better chances east of the metro. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain, time-saving traffic center. We're still getting reports of that accident that has the right lane blocked westbound along I-80 just near exit 440, and that's still backed up all the way to exit 442, where you can expect delays of up to 20 minutes in that area. Then on L Street, be prepared for a bit of a slowdown near 90th Street, and on Highway 370, looks like things are slowing down just a little bit from Richland Drive to 96. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery is back. Until April 18th, buy a 2x2 ticket and enter to be one of 14 winners of $5,000 or $500. Details at anylottery.com. 2x2 top prize odds, 1 in 105,000.
March is here, and when you're looking for tickets to college basketball tournament games, Tickets for Less is your #1 choice. There's no other place to look. Head over to ticketsforless.com right now, shop for the best selection of tickets, or download the free Tickets for Less app now to find the best seats at your fingertips. Plus, all new Ticket for Less app members will receive a special discount after signing up. Whether you're looking to follow Creighton to Des Moines or Kansas City or KU or whoever else to catch some games, Tickets for Less has you covered. Memories for life start at ticketsforless.com. BlueJayZone.com today.
The Blue Jay Zone is brought to you by Barry Law. We're in it to win it. The final words on an emotional season. A speech from Greg McDermott.
You have rallied and galvanized not a university, not a community, but anybody that's ever had anything to do with Creighton University.
For the complete video, check out Creighton's Twitter handle @BlueJayMMB.
Winning comes without a guarantee. Focus, discipline, and extraordinary effort make winning more likely. Sometimes our greatest wins come from major setbacks. Coming back from a serious injury is a win that requires teamwork. At Barry Law, we're in it to win it.
If you have been seriously injured in an accident, call Barry Law today. 402-999-7777.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis. I have been saying it throughout the last few weeks. They are changing the way that they do golf instruction at Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis. One of the changes, on-course instruction. If you want to find out more information and learn from Mike Faber and Jonathan Melke, find your best golf swing, give them a call today at 402-498-0220. They're located just north of Dodge on 120th Street, Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. Here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Rooferees. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
These buttons are driving me crazy. Congratulations, Steve Klein. Been promoted to take over for the legend, Doug Woodard at Bellevue West. The familiarity with Coach Klein. Been there, the right-hand man for a while. So he is elevated from the head assistant to now running the Bellevue West program. Good luck. He has been at Bell West for over a decade. Can you recruit? Congratulations, Coach. Can you recruit? See, Jimmy, you laugh. That's
the thing now. Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Can you?
I get it.
Can you recruit, Coach? Welcome. What's your Rolodex look like? But it just kind of dawns on you. We've had some turnover in high school basketball coaching in this city, boys and girls. Some like longtime coaches, some very successful coaches that have either gone into retirement or have gone into administration. And boy, do they look like they have lost a couple of years the other way, where they look a lot, younger. Like Coach Woodard's going to look young, man. We see him in the winter. Coach Cannon looks great. He's got a new hip, new knees, lost weight. He looks fantastic. Some of these coaches that have gone into administration, boy, those circles around their eyes and that gray hair has completely disappeared.
Like, this is great.
Look at Obama. He leaves the White House, and all of a sudden Obama, his hair has color again.
It's youthful.
I know how this works. I know how this works.
That's I was telling.
Congratulations to Steve. That's a good job that he has been in line for a while.
We saw Darren look like that last week too. Darren Erstad. Looks great. And it sounds great. Like he's just you can tell he's loving what he's loving being a dad. He's loving that.
Well, there's also the stress, stress level. Yes. There is news yesterday in college football. Good on Colorado, right? Colorado football has officially announced they've sold out their spring game. Their spring game is going to be the same day of Nebraska's spring game. It's the only spring game that's going to be on ESPN. Ironically, Chris Fowler and RG3 will be doing the game together.
Oh, he goes home.
Yeah, Chris Fowler being a CU buff. Does that also mean that all of these cuts that everybody wants to know what's going to be happening at ESPN Disney, they're cutting 7,000 jobs? Does that mean Fowler is good?
Yeah.
He's doing the Colorado spring game. So it's nice. They sold out their spring game. It's really, really nice. By the way, Michigan has their spring game coming up at 3:00 tomorrow. But I wonder, and we have in our building a diehard Colorado fan, Josh, who keeps reminding me
listening right now,
about Mike McIntyre and Mel Tucker and what Dion's going to do.
He ran into Dion in the elevator too, by the way.
I know. I've heard the story 46 times. He never changes. Okay. You ran into Coach Prime, not Dion, Coach Prime. My simple question for Colorado fans that are going to watch a spring game and all the love that they're going to get, how long are you going to stay? And how are you going to keep them? Because I don't know if you've looked at the quarterbacks in the Pac-12 in 2023 and the schedule that Colorado's going to play, but will Colorado football fan be okay with 3 or 4 wins this upcoming season and then turn around next spring and sell out their stadium? How long they're going to stay? How long are you going to keep them? Because all I know in the Pac-12 this year, Caleb Williams is at USC, Michael Penix Jr. is at Washington, Bo Nix is at Oregon, Cam Rising is at Utah, DJU is at Oregon State. Those are your top 5 quarterbacks.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
That's just
that
fine.
Is damn good.
Just how long are you going to stay? And if you only win 3 or 4 games and for the 16th time in 18 years you have a losing record in football, you coming back?
They'll be out before the season's over. Like, hey, how are the Broncos doing? Sean Payton, hey, it's time to go skiing.
And that's what Colorado has encountered when you're not winning, is it is a fair weather fan base that's got so many different options in the Denver area for their entertainment dollar that they don't hang around. Good that they sold out the spring game. All right, that's cool. It's going to be a gong show, a chaotic circus environment when Nebraska plays out there in week number 2. Mm-hmm. But how long will people hang around? Because they may win 3-4 games. I don't know. I'm looking at, again, pictures from Colorado. I got some tiny dudes. They need to start showing in all of their social media stuff. They need to start showing their linemen and their linebackers, because they keep showing either DBs or running backs, and they're tiny. They look like they're freshmen in high school.
It does. They look like Pop Warner dudes. Here's the exercise I want to play, because to your question, are you going to be, as a Colorado fan, are you going to be okay with it, with a 3 or 4 win season? Okay, so let's draw and mind you, before I do this, I'll preface it. I get the fan bases are completely different, but let's go 2018 Nebraska. The 0-6 start was, and we talked about this a little bit, it was almost not as alarming as I thought it maybe should have been, but then you finish 4-2. You win your last 4 out of 6. And so you're going into the offseason, despite not making a bowl, with a little bit of buzz of like, okay, once we finally got a couple of wins, you could start to see things shifting maybe, because there was some good moments with this football program. Look at the schedule that Colorado has if you get into November. So they're back-to-back home games against Oregon State and Arizona. Then they finish back-to-back road games at Washington State, at Utah. And and if you want to count the last of October, the road game at UCLA. So the schedule's kind of spread out, but their toughest part of the schedule when it comes to conference play is right out of the gate with Oregon and USC. But the way that they end is, I mean, do we expect this team, depending on how they kind of take the ups and downs of the season too, are they riding a heater going into the end of the year, or at least giving you reason to believe like, yeah, Deion's, it's finally starting to come together? Because I think if you do give them something like that, if you're Colorado, if you're Deion, you give them something like that at the end of the year, and say you pull off a win on the road against Utah, for instance. Okay, maybe there's a little excitement. I think college football fans, regardless of whether you're Colorado or you're in Lincoln, I think you understand, given where Colorado was a year ago, that it may not be popping right out of the gate, but if you see signs of it towards the end of the season, you could probably capitalize a little bit on the momentum there. You could probably keep people pretty excited, especially Deion. He's a good salesman. He could sell the change is coming. The excitement is coming. Look at that last month, but that last month is the one that I'm circling right now, because that's where you're going to be able to keep them excited about the off-season stuff, including a spring game, or people are going to be like, "Nah, we were sold a bill of goods." If you say go like 1-3,
if they, well, whatever happens in the first part of their schedule as well. I mean, the Pac-12 said, "All right, Deion, welcome to the league." Thinking going back to the quarterbacks that are going to be in the Pac-12, and those top 5 are dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have, I think Deion's son, Shadir, will turn out to be a good quarterback. I just wonder how fast he'll be able to adapt to the Pac-12 coming from an FCS school at Jackson State. Cam Ward transferred to Wazoo from Incarnate Word, and he chucked the ball over the place. And then Dante Moore is the hotshot freshman out of Detroit. How soon before he wins the job at UCLA, if he wins the job at all during the season? So the quarterback play in the Pac-12 is going to be magnificent.
Yeah.
Okay, you got the Heisman Trophy winner coming back. He's playing for USC. Enough said. Who's the best returning quarterback in the Big Ten? And here's I'll go a step further, thinking about quarterback play, because when Nebraska scrimmages this weekend, I would like to hear more discussion about the quarterbacks. We've seen glimpses of a Harburg running a orbit option. The video they released yesterday, Richard Torres and Marcus Washington hooked up. Jeff Sims actually looks like he's spinning it better than he did at Georgia Tech. But again, we haven't had a scrimmage. I'm going to be a wait and see mode. Who do you think is the top returning quarterback in the Big Ten? And who is the top quarterback, perceived top quarterback in the Big Ten West coming into this season? Because this is a conference.
See, the West is probably the better question.
This is a conference that lost C.J. Stroud and Spencer Petras.
I mean, would you guys argue that J.J. McCarthy? And I'm not talking about the West. I'm just talking about Big Ten in general. J.J. McCarthy.
So I would put McCarthy
that's
ahead
the first
of.
I thought.
I would put McCarthy ahead of probably Baby Tua, because there's not a lot of returning quarterbacks.
I like that.
There's not a lot of returning quarterbacks with experience in the Big Ten. I mean, Peyton Thorne's still the quarterback at Michigan State, and we pay attention to Michigan State this year because Nebraska plays them in November. But there's either you are a new quarterback starting this year in the Big Ten. You may have started somewhere else. You may have been Jeff Sims. Okay, you may have been, there's other transfers. Cade McNamara, for example.
Yeah.
You may have been Tanner Mordecai, who is going to be the number 1 quarterback at Wisconsin. They've already announced that. Started his career at Oklahoma, went to SMU. Yeah, Hudson Card started at Texas. There is McCarthy and Baby Tua really are the only 2 quarterbacks in the league that are, and Peyton Thorne, that are returning, and Big Art at Minnesota, but he wasn't the starter last year, that actually are, have returning experience with the team that they've been playing for their entire career. The Big Ten quarterback play is going to be really, really interesting. I would agree about McCarthy, but let's say it's either Casey Thompson or Jeff Sims. that are the quarterbacks starting at Nebraska, who is perceived as the best quarterback in the Big Ten West right now?
I'm actually going to say probably Cade McNamara. I think, and given what he did at Michigan, why J.J. McCarthy ended up beating him out, I think works perfectly with what Iowa wants to do. You want stability at the quarterback position, and I thought Cade McNamara was a little bit better than a game manager. So, assuming that he can fit in, and again, that's and I get where you're going with this. Those are the assumptions. You have to make assumptions with this because we don't know exactly how these guys are going to look in the West, unless we're going the Minnesota route. I mean, the only thing you really go off of, and the reason I say Cade McNamara is I think his style, the type of quarterback he is, seems to fit pretty well with what that offense needs him to do.
Yep.
And so I would say Cade McNamara. Hudson Card interests me, but I would say Cade McNamara.
It feels weird to say that, but yeah, I'd have to agree with you. It would be Cade McNamara because you know what you're getting. You
Well,
just don't know it at Iowa, but you know
and-
what you're getting.
Nick, you make a good point. Like Cade McNamara is not a guy that I want in a 2-minute offense when you got to go 80 yards.
No.
Okay. But if I'm Iowa and I desperately need to average over 25 points a game, I need a guy that's just going to be steady. Okay. And his accuracy is going to be better than the accuracy we had last year. So,
and he's
perfect. He's not going to wow you, but for Iowa, he's perfect. And he's better than the collection of quarterbacks they had last year.
Yeah.
Still don't, I don't, people have already basically, I guess, have moved on from Casey Thompson. I say that a little bit sarcastically, but that's the general feel I get. Again, I'd like to hear Jeff Sims have a good day tomorrow. That's what I really would like to hear. But I'm going to go with Tanner Mordecai. I think with Wisconsin's new offensive system and what he did at SMU, I mean, he threw for over 3,500 yards in back-to-back seasons. I mean, he had 72 touchdowns with SMU. They found, if this offense works, I think Luke Fickell found his perfect trigger man in Tanner Mordecai at Wisconsin. But I would put the combination of Sims and Thompson right behind Mordecai in the Big Ten West.
Yeah.
Well, and is anybody? I'll be honest. I don't pay strong attention to the pulse of the Minnesota Gopher fan base, but as how do we say it? Kalak McManus. I always
call him Big Art. You're good.
Yeah, I like Big Art.
Are people clamoring for him? Like I get it. He gave you a little bit more playmaking ability than Tanner Morgan, and he's got a stronger arm, but that's the only returner that we've seen with any starting experience in the actual team that he's going to be, representing this year in the Big Ten West. Other than Casey.
I don't know who he's throwing to because it seems like every day somebody from Minnesota is going into the portal.
Right.
He, again, playing behind Tanner Morgan, he didn't get a ton of opportunities, but look at the Nebraska-Minnesota game completely changed when Morgan got concussed and Big Art had to come into that game. He did look good against Wisconsin at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And he threw for over 300 yards. Now, their offense is going to, not going to be so running back heavy. Illinois and Northwestern from Helensky, I don't know if you take a step back, but Illinois is going to take a step back at quarterback play.
Yep.
With Altmaier transferring in from Ole Miss. I would go Mordecai, and then whoever is the starting quarterback at Nebraska, I would put ahead of a McNamara, a Hudson Card, and even Big Art at Minnesota.
Yeah, the Wisconsin thing with Mordecai, that to me is excited as we are to see what it's all going to look like here locally with Nebraska. Wisconsin having that element offensively and trying to implement that, that's going to be fun to watch, whether it works or not. What Luke Fickell wants to do offensively, and to bring in. I mean, if you're going to do that, I would agree. You have a guy that is going to be able to do that for you, who can throw in volume and is relatively accurate. That element with Wisconsin, thinking that we could be talking more about Wisconsin wide receivers than we would be running backs, is a kind of a novel concept. But that is something for a team that wanted to not fall back and just do the same thing, and do the Big Ten West thing that works for them, but to do something that could work for them in the entire Big Ten when divisions go away. This is a major, major step in that direction that I want to see. I still just go with the sense of urgency that Iowa has with what they need at the quarterback position. And again, the difference between Iowa and Wisconsin, in my mind, is Wisconsin is thinking about the future, and Luke Fickell is thinking about the Big Ten West, not only one more year of divisions, but what they can do going forward when they get broken away from those divisions. Iowa, I still think, hey, their goal right now, let's do the Iowa thing. Cade McNamara represents what we need at quarterback for us to be competitive in the Big Ten West and win the Big Ten West, as opposed to what they're going to be doing 2 or 3 years from now.
Oh, isn't the Iowa thing, let's average more points than Caitlin Clark?
That should be the goal. I like that.
There needs
That
to
should be the litmus test.
There's your next T-shirt. There's your next T-shirt.
She averages 27 a game. We want to be 27-1.
I'm going to go with Caitlin on that one.
We got 2 hours. We will discuss. She plays tonight against South Carolina. She is a star. She tilts the court compared to other players in the women's and even the men's game. Mike Schaefer coming up in half an hour. There is some movement with Dylan Raiola. There's movement in the portal world of college basketball going on. Again, Isaac Trout at some point this morning will make it official that he's going to Creighton, hopefully before 10, so we can dive even deeper into the Grand Island sharpshooter playing for Omaha as a redshirt freshman. Also, Steve Sipple stops by with his thoughts 2 weeks into spring practice, and a great line from MJ Sherman yesterday after practice in Lincoln. That's all still to come. Nick's in Chicago. Jimmy and I are in studio. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Hey, you could be in Chicago checking out the Cubs or the White Sox. Both teams won yesterday. You could be in Kansas City, see the new-look Royals and their beautiful powder blues. You can go up to Target Field. You can go to Coors Field. You can go anywhere, find a Major League Baseball game, even down to St. Louis. And Tickets for Less has the best selection of seats for you with never any per-ticket fees. Go to the website right now, ticketsforless.com. You want to go to a Major League game? You want to go see the Storm Chasers, who open up next week at home, or any of the college baseball programs around the area, even thinking down the road for that big event in June? Tickets for Less has you covered. Go there today, ticketsforless.com. Remember, with Tickets for Less, you never have any per-ticket fees. And you can save even more on your next order when you use the promo code THEZONE at checkout. That's ticketsforless.com.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Upside, the free app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back just for buying the gas I was going to buy anyway.
But is it a hassle to use?
No, it's super fast and easy, and I can cash out whenever I want.
That's a total no-brainer. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TIME for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code TIME. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TIME for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TIME.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
O'Reilly Auto Parts provides more than just the right parts for your repair. Our professional parts people can also offer free check engine light diagnosis. We can scan your vehicle and provide a list of possible fixes, find the right parts for you, or recommend a great local repair shop. Don't ignore your check engine light. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
One of the Nebraska Lottery's most explosively fun promotions is back. Cash Blast. Until April 18th, buy a 2x2 ticket, enter the voucher number, and you could win $5,000 or $500. If your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw ticket or a multiple of 7 ticket, your prize is doubled. There will be 7 weekly drawings and 14 total winners in Cash Blast. So play today. You'll have a blast. But that goes without saying. 2x2 top prize odds, 1 in 105,000. Did you know that when you play games from the Nebraska Lottery, you're also supporting and even... That's right. Since 1993, the Nebraska Lottery has raised more than $900 million for Nebraska's environment, educational opportunities, and state fair. So to everyone who plays, we say, the Nebraska Lottery, 30 years of building a better Nebraska.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On-air, digital, on-site, audio, video, it's all part of what you could sell. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
There is some local news, Nick, on a local connection that has a new job. Mike Hastings.
Yeah.
Former legend of the Omaha Lancers. Former Dean Blaze assistant, successful at Minnesota State Mankato after 11 years, is now the new head hockey coach at Wisconsin. That's a huge move for Hasty and a interesting pickup by Wisconsin, because now Wisconsin and Minnesota and Motzko, who has Minnesota back in the Frozen Four, and Hasty are like really, really good friends. I don't know, can you recruit the same 28-year-old kid that seemed to always be playing in Mankato? Can you do that in Madison?
That's kind of the interesting thing right now, too. Is, well, first, I think we can both agree it's a huge win for the Big Ten.
Hasty's fantastic.
One of the great college hockey coaches, regardless of conference, and that, I think that's a great place to start. Is the type of recruits that you're going to be able to get. The elder statesman at Minnesota State, where you have guys that are like, hey, wasn't your rookie season in the NHL like 5 years ago? But Wisconsin, and they've been able to, like, the Kohl Center to watch a hockey game is actually a really cool place. And so I think with what Wisconsin did, investing into Mike Hastings and what they should get out of that, which the Big Ten, who had a huge, huge season this year in the college hockey landscape right now, where we talk about the NCHC sort of being the top dog, Big Ten really flexed this year. I think that's a huge way to capitalize on momentum too. I mean, one of the perennial, top 10 Minnesota State team, and a team that you really thought, okay, Mike Hastings, there's only going to be a couple jobs that you could probably pull him away from Mankato, for Wisconsin to get that. And that was interesting to see. Wisconsin would be one of those places for Mike Hastings, but Big Ten got a lot better. The way he's going to be able to recruit to that type of infrastructure, that athletic department, is going to be a monster for Wisconsin and for the Big Ten.
Yeah, probably closed the door on my dream of Hasty once coming back to Omaha.
I was thinking about that when I saw it this morning too. I was like,
because I don't think you could pay the Omaha hockey coach what Wisconsin is paying. I don't think you'd ever go there. But great for him. That's a home run hire in Madison.
Yeah.
All right. Nick's in Chicago. Jimmy and I are in studio with all of you on a Feel Good Friday, the last day of March, where it feels like spring. And then afternoon, it will feel like winter. Welcome to spring in Nebraska. Mike Schaefer will join us in the next hour. Steve Sipple stops by as well. Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone.
Hey guys, Woodhouse Mazda excited.
GMC. You can shop there first. Experience the difference at 119th and I. Climate controlled indoor showroom. So if the weather is not so nice outside, you can go inside and still find, in nice, comfortable conditions, the vehicle that is perfect for you. New or pre-owned, car, truck, or SUV, stylish SUV like an Acadia, or how about the GMC Sierra 1500, stylish light-duty pickup truck that covers all the needs. It's got 8 available trims. It's got 14 different cameras. It's got all the infotainment, leather seats, doesn't drive like you would think a pickup does if you're not a pickup person. For business or pleasure, check it out. Go on a test drive today. You can also schedule that test drive online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com, where everything you can do in person, you can do online, including driveway delivery. 119th and I, that's where you'll find Woodhouse Buick GMC, or online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have one accident to report near 119th and Pacific Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Then westbound along I-80, be prepared for some significant slowdown near 144th Street. And along Highway 370, it looks like things are slowing down just a little bit from Richland Drive to 90th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by JM Online.
Attention business leaders. Need a website that generates leads and looks the part too? Awarded Omaha's best website developers in 2023, JM Online creates custom websites to meet unique business needs. Take your online presence to the next level at jmonline.com and request a call today.
Summer is almost here, and with 31 days in March, you can save $31 every month at Genesis Health Clubs. Join online until midnight. If you don't get started on your fitness goals today, then when? Tomorrow? Next week? Next month? Next year? Life's too short for that. Hi, I'm Rodney Stephen with Genesis Health Clubs, here all month giving you 31 reasons to get started towards your summer fitness goals now. Reason number 17, improves your ability to recover from physical exertion. Reason number 18, gives you more energy to meet the demands of daily life and provides you with a reserve to meet the demands of unexpected emergencies. Reason number 19, improves mental alertness. Reason number 20, reduces your risk of having a stroke. Reason number 21, reduces your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. 31 reasons to get started today and $31 to save every month when you get started at Genesis Health Clubs. Join online until midnight, then it's gone forever. There is no tomorrow for your health. Go to GenesisHealthClubs.com today to get started.
College basketball is in full swing and gearing up for the college basketball tournament. Watch it all season long at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill. Of course, Oscar serves great pizza, but don't forget about their award-winning charred buff wings or even their delicious fish and chips. Perfect for Friday nights. Dine in or carry out at 173rd and West Center. Carry out at 162nd and Maple, and order online at oscarsomaha.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Duck Defense Midwest makes your home healthier and improves the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com for a special duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. That's cleanairradio.com.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 11th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let us handle all the details steps away on the south side of Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination. Blur Events takes care of all the work so you can enjoy the day.
One of the Nebraska Lottery's most explosively fun promotions is back. Cash Blast. Until April 18th, buy a 2x2 ticket, enter the voucher number, and you could win $5,000 or $500. On the 7th or multiple is double. There will be 7 weekly drawings and 14 total winners in Cash Blast. So play today. You'll have a blast. But that goes without saying. 2x2 top prize odds, 1 in 105,000.
What's with all the Nebraska lottery scratch tickets? We're going to a baseball game.
They're for the 7th inning scratch.
You mean the 7th inning stretch?
Hey, you can stretch if you want. I'm scratching.
Starting a new baseball tradition?
Sure. Why not add even more excitement to the game? Check out all these fun tickets, and I could win thousands between innings.
I suppose the next thing you'll do is change Take Me Out to the Ball Game to Take Me Out to a Nebraska lottery retailer.
Buy me some peanuts and scratch tickets.
Play is good. Go play. Odds vary by game.
Come visit Les Voltaire, Omaha's own little corner of France, for mouth-watering appetizers, French flair entrees, melt-in-your-mouth desserts, and an extensive brunch menu on Sundays from 10 to 2, whether dinner or brunch with friends, celebrating a special occasion, entertaining clients, or just chilling with French wines and craft cocktails. Les Voltaire will make you feel right at home, just like they've been doing for more than 2 decades. Les Voltaire, just off 156th and West Dodge Road in Pepperwood Village, and at lesvoltaireomaha.com.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no per-ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off 680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's. It's Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
It was MJ Sherman, the transfer from Georgia. That is a great line. I got $1 million friends. He's referencing where he just came from, Georgia, where he won 2 national championships, and the NFL draft picks, the starting front 7 of Georgia that were all NFL draft picks that MJ Sherman played with. He'll have an important part, but yeah, now he's an older guy. That's tomorrow. So I Simple know more about this, maybe even Shafe. I'm pretty sure Nebraska scrimmages tomorrow, like has a significant scrimmage. Have you found it interesting, Nick, now that we're 2 weeks into spring ball, that when defensive coaches speak, whether it be the defensive coordinator, Tony White, Terrence Knighton, Evan Cooper, anybody else that has defensive responsibilities, and it may have a little bit to do with the personnel and getting to know them, and some key guys are not available this spring or haven't arrived yet, they don't go all in on gushing about guys compared to when you hear Satterfield or Rule talk about their guys on that side of the ball. Just an observation. Are you sensing the same thing?
Yeah, and this is where I go back to where I think Matt Rule has his finger on everything. Because I think it's an area we've talked about all the time, especially defensive line. The only conversation I think that we've heard that's been a little bit more pointed is the amount of defensive backs. But even, guys like when they talk about Malcolm Hartzog, working at safety, and it's not like, oh yeah, he's been just amazing, but we got him here. And I think this is where Matt Rule understands how they want to sort of go about the narrative. And I know we run with it when we think, okay, the less that is being said, the more that validates maybe our concerns or questions about at least the defensive line and some other areas. But I think also the less that they're glowing about it, the expectation level from the fans maybe is tamped just a bit, that if you do have maybe some unexpected success up front, that's a pleasant surprise. I think it's managing the expectations. But you're absolutely right, because there's been a lot more detailed progress on the offense, and a lot more talk about the running back room, and that being sort of a juggernaut of a room, especially now having Anthony Grant having his suspension lifted, and the wide receivers, even whether we're talking about the unknowns there, but like guys like Billy Kemp that have stood out, and really the possibilities there. The defense, yeah, it's been a little bit more of talking alignment. It's been a little bit more talking about guys kind of moving around and where they can put certain guys on the defensive line. But yeah, you haven't really got a progress report on individuals, which I think is intentional.
Mike Schaefer is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Nick and I will get into a discussion with him about Dylan Raiola. There's last 24 to 48 hours, there's been some, I don't know, perceived movement. Steve Wiltfong does a crystal ball to Georgia. Jake Merklinger, who is a four-star quarterback who was deciding between Tennessee and Georgia, decided on Tennessee yesterday. So Schaefer will join us bottom of the hour. Steve Sipple will stop by as well. Final four tonight for the women. I give you South Carolina, Iowa, LSU are in the women's Final Four. How many people can give me the fourth team that's playing in Dallas?
I had to think about it when I was writing the update here. I was like, wait, and then I had to double check to make sure I didn't mess it up.
I probably not a lot. I mean, hopefully we know by now in what we do, but yeah, I would say it's a good question where of your sports viewing audience, 40%.
They should come out and say, we're the other team.
We're the Hokies.
I like that.
We're playing against a team where their coach, who will probably have a great fit.
She's going to bring it tonight.
So Kim Mulkey is very polarizing, okay? Not everybody is in on Kim Mulkey, but she don't care. She does not care. It used to be in women's basketball. Like men's basketball, you have the coaches and the players of the story. And we have more knowledge, of course, of the men's basketball teams and players throughout the entire sport. Women's basketball, we've had stars that have come along. Not the abundance of stars that we're going to get all in one place with a Clark, a Reese, and a Boston that are going to play tonight. But it's always been about the coaches. Gino, Pathead Summit. I mean, we can rattle off the coaches in the women's game almost easier than we can rattle off the players. So you've got a couple of big-name coaches. Don Staley, who's South Carolina is unbelievable. I mean, that's going to take more than Caitlin Clark tonight to knock off South Carolina. And then, of course, Kim Mulkey, who does not care at all. And, she's very flamboyant. Her actions on the sidelines, the things that come out of her mouth.
The wardrobe.
Maybe the only time that she was buttoned down was when she was here watching her son play in the College World Series a few years back. I mean, she was like
mom.
Yeah, she was blended in. She wasn't just screaming at the umpires. As I think LSU went 2 in the queue that, they went further than that. But she's got, she likes to be flamboyant. She also don't care what you think. That's one of the endearing qualities to some of her. But she had a great line yesterday. She showed up and she was wearing a cowboy hat, and it was a cowboy hat that was given them. It wasn't like she showed up to say, hey, I'm in Texas.
I'm a cowboy.
But
cowgirl.
She was talking about singing, and she said, I could sing All My Exes Live in Texas, and that would be true. And she used to be Kim Mulkey Robertson. But, the coaches used to be the stars. Now you have a legit star that will be over the top, through the roof, if by chance Iowa upsets South Carolina. Now, South Carolina hasn't allowed anybody to have double figures in assists since 2018, and they will swarm her. It almost feels like, remember when Creighton played South Carolina in the Elite Eight in the women's tournament last year? And Creighton was really, really good, but South Carolina's on a whole different level with athleticism and length that you don't see on a nightly basis in the Big East. I think that's going to be the same way tonight, but Caitlin Clark's going to have to shoot him. But the difference is, in the women's game, you don't like to say, hey, you're playing for the back of the jersey. But for the women's game, don't you guys think it kind of has benefited them that we know more about the back of the jersey than the front of the jersey in the women's game, where we don't care if it's the front or the back. We're all in on the men's Final Four most years.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I want to watch, is just to see what do they do strategically to her, but how does she counter? And what are you going to do as a team to offset the fact that South Carolina is another level of good?
Yeah. And they'll knock her around for 40 minutes.
No, and I think it's going to be awesome to see that. This is a new challenge for the Caitlin Clark, train that has just been phenomenal to watch. And I got, as you were talking about that, just the whole Kim Mulkey persona, I got to thinking, okay, if you have Aaliyah Boston, you've got Caitlin Clark has just taken not just the sports world as we know it by storm, but beyond. Add Kim Mulkey. If it's part of me is sort of mad that we don't have Gino, because Gino's another personality. It's not as flamboyant, obviously, as Kim Mulkey, but if you get those coaching personalities, and then you also have the players like Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, that's something I don't think women's college basketball has seen, as far as having the coaching personalities and just the excellence for so many years of Gino Auriemma. Is that like the only thing that's missing, or are we okay without Gino Auriemma this time, in the Final Four?
I'd say either or.
Yeah, you got Don Staley and Kim Mulkey.
Yeah, Don's got a lot of personality too. And the thing is,
I didn't really know much about Virginia Tech as far as
they're the other
their leadership. I kind of liked Kenny Brooks. Listening to him talk after the game and stuff, I was like, okay, I can get on board with Kenny Brooks.
Not easy being a male coaching a women's basketball team,
right,
but a black male coaching a women's basketball team.
Yep.
I mean, he and oh, by the way, Virginia Tech women's basketball has been good since he has been there. A damn good coach.
They're a 1 seed for a reason.
And then we got to stop every women's coach that is good, like elite. Stop asking them, hey, would you be interested in coaching men?
I agree.
Like Don Staley got asked at her, her alma mater has an opening now, and they don't need more. But hey, would you be interested? Would you coach in the men's? Would you go coach men's basketball? Remember that? Remember Pat Summitt? That was asked of her a lot. Hey, why don't you just walk across the hallway and coach men's basketball at Tennessee? Gino has been asked that before. Hey, well, why don't you? Kevin Ollie is out. Why don't you coach the men, Gino? I got to stop asking women's coaches that question.
Yeah.
But there are some that I don't care if you're coaching men, women, or me. If you're a good coach, you're a good coach. You have an understanding of the game and the fundamentals, the right buttons to punch, all of that stuff. You can recruit, you can develop a roster. Doesn't matter if it's men, women, boys, girls. If you can coach basketball, you can coach basketball. But I think it's just disingenuous to ask women's coaches, "Hey, would you like to coach men's basketball?" No, they're probably chose that route to coach women's game for a particular reason. That's their enjoyment.
I'll say this: I've never been more excited, or at least anticipating a women's college basketball game than I am tonight. I can't wait to see how this goes down. It's a testament to Caitlin Clark. It's a testament to Leah Boston and those two teams, those two schools, coaches. Yes, all that I think goes without having to be said. But again, the hype for it as well, the build up for it as well has been phenomenal.
Caitlin Clark saved the women's Final Four.
Yeah.
South Carolina's there and they haven't lost. And LSU would be Caitlin Clark saved the women's Final Four. There's a reason in a 20,000 seat arena, those ticket prices are through the roof.
Well, and Sharpie, they did this. I think it was yesterday morning. They did a sort of highlight reel of Caitlin Clark, and the highlight reel in the buildup of this, and it was probably like maybe about a minute hit. All of it was her post shot reactions. All of it was, this and showing the three. It was the bravado, and that was for people who are maybe just now getting on board with this. You're seeing this and you're seeing her hit all these just ridiculous shots, but then you're seeing the confidence, the cockiness, the swag to it as well.
Yeah.
They're hyping that part of it too. They're not hyping just a basketball player that can hit from any part of the court. They're hyping the fact that she's kind of in your face about it too, and she loves it, and in return it's must-watch basketball.
Quick traffic update for our listeners that are sitting in traffic. I-4080 northbound is shut down from Leavenworth Street north. So it has become a parking lot this morning. And please find an alternate route and bring your patience. We're getting calls from listeners that it is a mess. And also a reminder, do not pass on the interstate shoulder to avoid slowed or stopped traffic. But I-480 northbound is shut down from Leavenworth Street north.
Brought to you by Zoom Plumbing.
Yeah, we had a caller call in, and we'll have that sometimes where they'll call in. So we appreciate that because we're able to relay that to you.
All right, Mike Schaefer's coming up in the next segment, but first here's an update with Jimmy.
Nebraska softball hosts Michigan in a 3-game series, which begins this afternoon, 3 o'clock today, 4 o'clock tomorrow, noon Sunday. Creighton softball, remember, extreme cooling coming to Omaha. They host Butler for a 3-game series over the weekend, but it begins at 1 when it should still be warm. Day games tomorrow and Sunday. Tomorrow is senior day for the Jays. It comes fast. Omaha softball hosts North Dakota for 3, beginning with a doubleheader tomorrow. Hey, the Cubs are 1-0 if you haven't heard, but congratulations to pitcher Marcus Stroman, who committed baseball's first regular season pitch clock violation Thursday in the 3rd inning of the Cubs' 4-0 victory over Milwaukee at Wrigley. He took a long look at rookie Bryce Turang leading off second base with no outs and Christian Yelich batting. Just as Stroman turned his attention back to Yelich, plate umpire Ron Kolpa called the violation for taking too long to deliver a pitch. Kolpa pointed to his wrist in announcing the call, and the automatic ball made it a 2-2 count against Yelich. Stroman didn't argue. Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman goes 5 for 5 with a home run and 4 RBIs, becoming the first player since 1937 to go 5 for 5 or better with a home run on opening day, and the first catcher with 5 hits on opening day since at least 1900. That's a lot. Baltimore.
Obviously, it's not just the Huskers that he was victimized. He used to do that a lot when Oregon State played Nebraska.
Baltimore beats the Red Sox at Fenway 10-9. Big Poppy threw out the first pitch. In the NBA, the Boston Celtics responded to one of their worst losses of the season with one of their biggest wins. The Celtics cruised to a 140-99 victory over the Milwaukee Bucks Thursday night at the Pfizer Forum. They bounced back from a disappointing loss in the previous game against Washington, and they are pushing the race for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference into the final week of the season. The Celtics now trail Milwaukee by 2 games in the standings for the top seed in the conference and best record in the NBA, but the Celtics won the season series and own the tiebreaker. Both teams have 5 games remaining in the regular season, and the Celtics still have hopes of catching the Bucks for the number 1 seed down the stretch. And I had to check. I was like, well, was there anybody sitting for load management? No, they all played. The 41-point loss for the Bucks is their second largest home defeat in franchise history. Milwaukee starters combined to score just 54 points, their 4th lowest total in a game this season. Well, so way to kind of poop the bed in a big game. And it was a big game because it was a national televised game, but something tells me those 2 teams will see each other again down the line.
Jason Tatum looked like he was okay last night.
Yeah.
Got a little chippy there as well. All right. That's thanks for the update, Jimmy. Mike Schaefer is coming up next. Steve Sipple will stop by as well. Plus, we will talk about the men's Final Four. That's the difference. One's got Caitlin Clark. The other has, I don't know, Sonogo.
Jim.
Yeah.
Even
Hawkins.
Is Danny Hurley a villain? Is Connecticut a villain?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Tickets for that start at $65. If you're around Houston, you want to go watch some ball over the weekend.
Don't buy into underdogs tomorrow. Very rarely in the national semifinals do we get underdogs that win. Shafe's coming up next.
Hey, excited to share with you the latest and most exciting addition at Woodhouse Mazda, the Woodhouse Mazda lineup. Coming soon to Woodhouse Place Mazda in Woodhouse Mazda. You can be the first to experience Mazda's flagship 3-row SUV, the Mazda CX-90, carefully crafted to exhilarate through a combination of design, technology, and performance. With the launch of the first ever Mazda CX-90, it introduces their first ever nationally available plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And if you haven't seen this thing and seen what it looks like, it is absolutely awesome. And it's going to be able to fit whatever size cargo you are going to be taking in all of your travels, whether we're talking about a large family or just a lot of cargo going to maybe an outdoor adventure as we get into the warmer days, windy and warm out there in Omaha. That's a good time to start thinking about that. It also boasts Mazda's most powerful engine to date. And with every Mazda SUV, you get the very latest in safety features. Make sure you check out the 2024 Mazda CX-9. You can do so online at woodhousemazda.com or woodhouseplacemazda.com. Chat with the sales team member online, easily schedule a test drive, check vehicle availability, and more. Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
The overall quality of really great college basketball teams has been diluted for several reasons. The really good players don't stick around that long, so you have more players in the NBA at an earlier age. The overall skill of basketball likely has gone up, and there's probably a much larger middle class of basketball player that is good than there was in 1992.
There's a specialization, basically?
Sure.
Unsportsmanlike conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Changes are on the way Friday. Very warm and windy start to the day. We will see temperatures climb into the mid to upper 60s around noon. Then temperatures will fall through the afternoon and evening hours as northwest winds pick up, gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour into the nighttime hours. There is a slight chance for a shower storm in the afternoon. Better chances east of the metro. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have one accident to report near 119th and Pacific Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Then westbound along I-80, be prepared for some significant slowdown near 144th Street. And along Highway 370, it looks like things are slowing down just a little bit from Richland Drive to 90th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Lanahaw Nurseries.
The spring yard cleanup season is here. Lanahaw produces Omaha's finest mulch. The best colors, best value, and the best quality. There is a difference. Have us deliver or stop by for convenient on-site loading. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lanahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
If you were at the sports show, you know what's new in RVs that Leach Camper sells. And show deals are extended. Plus, check out our blowout sale on 2022 models with no payments for a year with approved credit. Visit leachcamper.com.
And don't forget, coffee's always on.
The Creighton Blue Jays are back at Charles Schwab Field as they open up a 3-game series with St. Thomas. Pre-game coverage begins Friday night at 5:45. Creighton baseball on the radio on 1180 The Zone.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, we need to help out a friend here. Mike Schaefer joins us from Husker 24/7. Nick and Schaefer are diehard Guardian fans. Last night was opening night in Seattle. Kind of a thrilling game. Schaefer was blacked out, living in Lincoln, Nebraska, blacked out of the Seattle-Cleveland game. I'm guessing that you had a lot of angst last night, spent some time on the phone with the service department. Any update on why you're blacked out?
Yeah, believe it or not, plugging my, unplugging and plugging the router or modem back in didn't solve the problem. So the MLB TV troubleshooting guide, super helpful. I spent so much time on the phone, it went from the third inning to the bottom of the eighth, where basically by the time I got off the phone, Ty France hit the home run.
Yeah.
So that was fun. which also tells you the pace of play. Pretty quick right now. So, there's some good, there's some bad. We'll see if I'm somehow still blacked out of a game in the Pacific Northwest with a team from Ohio while I live in Lincoln. I don't know what that was. I don't really understand how any of it works, but it all just speaks to Major League Baseball, which constantly cries about growing the game and all these different things and how they want more fans. Maybe they should stop blacking fans out that actually pay for their product.
Hey, can I? Are you Chromecasting it or to a Fire Stick off your phone?
The Roku, but I mean, I tried
Okay.
I use my phone, I use data, I use wireless, I use
Okay.
a TV, I tried a computer.
Okay, so here's what happened to me yesterday. I went home and I wanted to watch the Cubs game, and it was giving me, I'm prohibited from watching this game. And I thought, I'm watching it on my phone. Now I just want to stream it to my television. And I went into the MLB app on my phone, and there is, if you go into account settings, you can sync it with MLB TV/@bat with the app that is on your TV. And once I did that, I fixed it.
All right. Well, we'll try that one today. It's wonderful that you have the suggestion, but not the person that I spoke to on the phone last night. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully it just works, and then it's not an issue going forward. But it was very frustrating.
Yeah, Shafe, I was watching it on my iPad, and I ran into some technical difficulties where I forgot my password, and I had to have that resent, and then I was okay. So it wasn't as bad. The technical issue wasn't as bad. So I do feel bad for you, but 2 hours and 14 minutes, buddy. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, speed the game up. Shane Bieber works fast anyway, so he's already was doing his part. And then Cleveland can't hit, so they've been doing their part for several years.
All right, we'll leave that in the past. Let's with almost 2 weeks done in spring football, there's also recruiting, and a great job by you and the rest of the 24/7 crew, because it was a extremely busy weekend last weekend. And the headliner seems to have had an interesting week in Dylan Raiola post Nebraska trip, where the sentiment in your industry seems to be that Nebraska is kind of on the outside looking in. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but Steve Wiltfong does a crystal ball with a confidence number of 6 to Georgia. Nebraska may be kicking the tires on a South Carolina commit at quarterback. And I know you were the first to go there with the crystal ball to Nebraska. What are the tea leaves this week saying on Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, it's been obviously an interesting week, just sort of watching the national coverage of it. And I just continue to sort of believe that outside the bubble, people just don't really think Nebraska has anything going for it beyond Dominic Raiola's, former school. So I think that's a big part of it. I also think that everywhere the Raiolas visit, they speak very highly of where they go.
Yep.
And so I think they give the indication to most of who is recruiting them that they're in a very good spot. I mean, so everyone operates off of the information that they have. And the strongest information I had in February indicated that, Nebraska was in a very good spot with Dylan Raiola. And then he obviously followed it up with his trip in February. He was back here in March. Had set up to come for the spring game. That doesn't appear to be happening, as he's going to kind of focus more on what's going on with his high school season. But this thing is far from over, and I think Steve Wiltfong does really great work. And I also think that he is kind of at the mercy of the information he has too, where he was just on USC and previously on Georgia at that, and then now back to Georgia. And we've seen this whole cycle, right? Before the USC visit, USC was on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And then there was that weird week where the Georgia visit wasn't even going to happen, but then it ended up happening, and now Georgia's the favorite again. The one constant in all of this, Nebraska's been there. They've been getting visits since Matt Rule has been hired. We know that his uncle is on staff. We know that his dad cares very strongly about this place. And here's the thing that is tough for me to square up, in addition to what I had already heard. And I don't know that I've talked about a lot of this on air, and I want to be somewhat careful as to what I say because I don't want to create too much of anything. But beyond just Donovan, who's on staff, who's paid to recruit on behalf of Nebraska, the Raiola family has taken a very keen and strong interest, not just in getting people to come to Nebraska for the same visit weekend that Dylan was there, but actively engaging with recruits on the West Coast about their interest in Nebraska, about, checking with Nebraska to see if they know of these people. And, all of these little things that happen that you hear about that doesn't square up with he's going to go to Georgia. And I'm sure that there's some, peer recruiting that would go on with Georgia too. But I can't imagine it rises to the level that I have heard about and have discussed with people that have been involved with the Raiola family. So I continue, my confidence isn't as strong as it was in February, and that's fine. We'll see kind of where things sit as we get through this month of April when it sounds like he's not going to take anything. But I have to square up what I'm hearing from people who are directly involved with the Raiola family and what they're talking about versus everything else. So for me, I don't have a reason yet to think the sky is falling for Nebraska's recruitment for Dylan Raiola. Like I said, I'm a little less confident than I was, but I'm not moving off of the Nebraska prediction at this point. And it certainly feels like it's changed multiple times to now where it looks like sort of almost like Arch Manning, we're looking at more of a June decision than we are, at spring.
Shafe, having said all that, as far as what Nebraska is doing, always considering some type of a safety net when it does come to quarterback, are we seeing any movement? Is Nebraska, are they prepared to also have a backup plan if it doesn't go their way when it comes to Dylan's announcement?
Well, this is where it gets kind of, fascinating because prior to the decommitment from Ohio State, I would have felt pretty strongly Nebraska would have walked away with Daniel Kalen as their quarterback in this class. Been okay with that because they obviously have a lot to figure out with their quarterbacks that are currently on campus. And then, moved on to 2025 recruiting where they have Stone Saunders, who's already visited multiple times. So it's one of those things where their backup plan basically was tired of being a backup plan and tired of being in Dylan Raiola's shadow, I think, to a degree. So Daniel Kalen commits to Missouri. Nebraska really hasn't pursued other quarterbacks. We'll see if that changes. Obviously, Marcus Satterfield recruited quarterbacks for South Carolina. They took a commitment last summer from a kid named Dante Reno.
Yep.
His dad is the coach of Yale football. That's another Massachusetts quarterback. We'll see if Nebraska wants to get involved with somebody like that. We'll see if they just want to kick it forward to 2025. They're not going to get Dylan Raiola. But I don't think they're at a point where they have to go out and just take someone to take someone. It should be a quarterback that they actually want to work with and try to develop rather than just fill a spot because they have multiple quarterbacks on campus as it is right now. And I think that, as much as anything, they sort of have to figure out.
Hey, I think reading after you talked to him, he might become one of my favorites in this class. First of all, he doesn't look like he's going to be a senior in high school. And I'm talking about Nate Frazier, who's from Mater Dei in Southern California. What was the biggest impression that Nebraska left on him? Because reading your recap on 24/7, I mean, this kid, you would think that he committed to Nebraska, but what was the biggest takeaway that he had from his visit here?
I think it was the coaches. I think he left very, very impressed by E.J. Barthol and Matt Rule, and he loved the practice. I mean, I think the one thing that Matt Rule has kind of openly told us is that he wants to get recruits to see what they're like during these practices. And I think part of that is because you see, as Nate Frazier told me, if a guy has a mistake, if a guy struggles, if a guy's having an off day, he's going to get coached up and they're going to work on it. And they're going to work him a little bit, but it's not for show. It's not to embarrass him. It's to help inspire and motivate him and get him through it. And he saw that firsthand with Nebraska when he was there on Saturday. He liked the energy and everything of which he thought the coaching staff had. He was really sort of just impressed in general with everything else that Nebraska has to offer in addition to that. But he just really, I think, likes the people. And he came back to this singular thought, which makes quite a bit of sense. If Christian McCaffrey speaks highly of Matt Rule, and E.J. Barthol and Matt Rule both worked with Christian McCaffrey at Carolina, E.J. Barthol has success at UConn, and now he's at Nebraska. That seems like a pretty good running back coach. I mean, That was like one of his takeaways. And then on top of it, again, if they know how to use Christian McCaffrey, they're going to get creative with running backs. And he loved that he was seeing guys lined up in the slot, putting motion and doing different things. And so I think that spoke a lot to him. And again, it goes back to they want guys to see what they're doing at practice. Because it's one thing if you're sitting in a room and the coach is putting the film up and you're kind of going through cuts. It's another when you could be in that environment, you hear him talking, and you see what that interview is like. And I thought it was pretty infectious for Nate Frazier. It's going to be a tough recruitment. Certainly, any modern day kid is. I mean, it's one of the most sought after, schools in the country with talent. But I think Nebraska put themselves in a really strong spot.
Yeah, Shafe, listening to MJ Sherman talk yesterday, I want to get your thoughts on how Tony White's defense sort of, as we see it sort of transpire over the next year, and just the kind of the passion that I think we got from MJ Sherman on a lot of different fronts, but especially on how they're going to be lining up and what you might see from the defensive line to the linebackers and those, just the overall schematics of this defense. From a recruiting standpoint, when it does come to just being able, for guys to see, how practices are looking, we're going to see some spring games and then some of these guys coming through in the fall and watching how that defense kind of being a sort of a free-flowing defense. What type of athlete do you think that they kind of stand to get and how that could be impactful and sort of re-solidifying that front seven?
Well, the thing about that 3-3-5, and MJ Sherman kind of talked about it, they covet speed. And we obviously know Matt Rule and his staff are big on the track times and big on the measurables in those regards. But clearly, if you can find athletes that you think can also tackle, and that's the big thing. I mean, they're not putting guys out there who can't tackle. That was just, anybody that's been at practice so far, if you're standing by Evan Cooper, his thoughts on tackling. And it's basically, you got to do it. There's usually a fair amount of swear words that are involved if you're not. So I know that they want athletes on defense. They want guys who play, with their hair on fire. And what that does in recruiting is it allows you to kind of go different directions. Obviously, they're going to look for big frames. They're going to look for guys that they can develop in the strength and conditioning program. They're going to look for guys that fit their athletic profile. But they can mix and match a lot. And MJ Sherman talked about how there's speed on the edges and there's speed in the back end and that they need big guys up front, but they have to be able to move and they have to be able to run because in his words, it's an RPO world and we're all playing. So I think that, it's a situation where these guys look at that defense and they look at some of these spread out offenses and they think that it's a good way to combat it. The question I think a lot of us have in Big Ten country is how does that offense necessarily do if lined up against Minnesota on August 31st? And you know what PJ Fleck's going to do. We've seen it now for several years. Can that defensive line, can that front seven, can they withstand a team that just goes directly at them and is more than happy to play for 3 yards on any given play? That's the big question, and that we won't be able to answer for a long time.
Hey, so I want to circle back to you mentioned about Nate Frazier and Matt Rule saying come to practice, and it's not just recruits. There's a lot of local coaches that have shown up to practice. You've seen 2 practices. What's different? If you're a recruit and you went to watch Nebraska practice under Matt Rule, what's different? Why is practice under Matt Rule he is appealing to recruits?
Well, it's tough because I don't sense like a big difference necessarily in the structure of things. I will say it feels like it's very a little bit maybe more organized in a way, and a little bit more. You hear from the assistant coaches more. Like their voices carry. They're getting involved. They're getting their money's worth with some of these guys on their drills. Like it just, I almost want to say it's a little more hands-on, but I don't want to give the impression that the previous staff was just sitting there with their whistle in their mouth and just kind of staring off into space either. So it's always kind of tough, and I don't like to play that game of what was the previous staff not doing and all of that stuff. But it does feel like there's just a little extra to this, and even just the small stuff. And a number of recruits mentioned it. They're like, with a Matt Rule practice, you don't walk. You're running everywhere. And if you're not running, you're getting yelled at. And that stood out to guys. I think in a weird way, and this was a word that MJ Sherman used to describe Georgia, and he said that it's what is going to carry Nebraska if they can get to that level, is discipline. It feels like there's maybe a little bit more discipline. And then you there's something about seeing those guys that are on the shelf, and instead of just standing there or riding the exercise bike, they got the yellow jerseys on and they're off to the corner and they're doing some light stuff. And, there's a little bit more happening there than what we saw last year, where it felt like there was a little more standing around. Some of that is they're a lighter program right now. Like they don't have as many players, and I think that's going to help them. Like they were carrying some excess bulk that led to a lot of just sort of standing and watching. I don't think you're getting that, and certainly not in the spring.
Yeah, and I know even that was a discussion last year about we love the walk-on program, but they were thinking, man, is 150 guys way too much because there were a ton of bodies and there weren't just enough reps to go around or stations to keep everybody busy. Shafe, we appreciate it. I hope you get your problem fixed. That would be a shame not to go through the whole year and not be able to watch the Guardians.
I think we'll get it figured out at some point. But shout out to the people kind enough to get into my mentions and send me the pirated streams that I can watch. If I'm forced to go down that route, I'll consider it, and then I'll probably have to burn my computer.
Hey, one final thing. Could you name all of the head coaches in the NFL if you saw pictures of them?
If I saw pictures, I could probably get I want to say I can do like 28 out of 32.
Okay,
there's been
that's
some
not bad.
changes. There were some changes this offseason, but I feel like I do, within the top 5%.
All right, so you do better than Travis Kelce.
No, no doubt about it. Yeah. But you think about it, why would he care? I mean, it's not like his focus is on everything he's doing to be a great football player. I don't think he would care about who the coaches are. One of the things about athletes, they're not always like the biggest fans of the sport that they play.
I know.
Their focus is so late.
And man, that's hard to grasp for us, isn't it?
Oh, it's the amount of recruits that are dumbfounded when a kid's like, "Yeah, I never watched college football." That happens all the time. Like a lot of these kids don't care about college football. They just happen to be very good athletes and very good football players.
Yeah, that's still going to be always tough to wrap my arms around. Shafe, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend, my friend.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
That's Mike Schaefer. It's true. When you talk to enough student athletes, they don't really follow the sport they play in.
Yeah.
And you're like, how do you not? I'm a junkie. You're playing at the high level. What are we doing here? Like,
we ask them questions. We just assume. You're like, oh, you know, right? And then they're kind of like, wait, who? What? What are you talking about?
Saturday night, I'm not watching college football like you. I'm going out with my girlfriend, or I'm going out with my friends, or I'm playing video games. I don't care what Michigan and Illinois are doing.
Yeah.
And you're like, really?
Just because you might be watching me in a couple of years doesn't mean that as soon as the team I'm rooting for isn't playing, that I'm just dialed into the next game. No, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be a teenager, man.
All right, last hour, we hope to track down Steve Sipple. Maybe we'll track down the guy that had a marriage proposal go wrong last night at Dodger Stadium. And how good did Travis Kelce do? And when his brother pressed him on how many coaches in the NFL can you name? That's all coming up in just a bit. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
Hi again, everybody. Kent Pavelka again courtside for a very lopsided matchup upcoming between John Higgins' weather guard and the obviously unprepared Average Roofing Companies. Now, I say let's change the nickname for John Higgins' weather guard from the Rooferees to the Bracket Busters, because the Average Roofing Companies are just getting annihilated by the quality of workmanship and professional customer service of John Higgins' weather guard. Don't get your bracket busted. Make the right call your first call to John Higgins' weather guard.
It's truck season at Woodhouse Chevy in Missouri Valley with the truck with the strength to take on what's next. The Chevy Silverado. Receive 0% APR for 36 months, plus $1,000 cash allowance and no monthly payments for 90 days on the 2022 Chevy Silverado 1500. Or lease a 2022 Silverado 1500 for $479 a month for 36 months, 10,000 miles per year. Go anywhere this year in a new Chevy and find new roads to Woodhouse Chevy. Exit 75 off I-29 Missouri Valley or WoodhouseGM.com. With approved credit, see dealer for details. Expires 3/31/23.
You can find pizza anywhere. But when you want pizza pie piled high with more toppings, that's when you come to my place, Godfather's Pizza. For a limited time, get your hands on 2 of my large one-topping pizzas. Pick pepperoni, beef, black olives, you choose. All this food for only $29. Feed your whole mob without breaking the bank. Hey, it's an offer you can't refuse. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
Nerds! Here at NerdWallet, we often see people wrestle with financial decisions.
Mike is in the ring, up against his nemesis, indecision. Mike can't decide the best way to save his money, and indecision has him boxed in. But wait, Mike tagged in NerdWallet!
Whew, let's go. With NerdWallet's side-by-side comparisons, you can find a high-yield savings account with interest rates that earn more bank for your buck. So the next time you wrestle with a financial decision, you'll come out on top. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
Life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After a diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. A few hours of your day could make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more. That's cancer.org/drive.
How powerful is the Cox network? So powerful that one day the internet will let your doctor perform miracles from thousands of miles away,
Connecting to remote operating room.
giving a whole new meaning to the term house call.
Operation complete.
The Cox network, with multi-gig speeds now available, it's internet built for tomorrow, today. Cox, bringing us closer. Limited availability in select areas. Speeds vary and are not guaranteed. Cox terms apply. Other restrictions may apply.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blurred Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 11th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let us handle all the details steps away on the south side of Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball, football tailgate destination. Blur Events takes care of all the work so you can enjoy the day.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Now, whenever I hear this song, I immediately think of the Super Bowl. Super Bowl halftime show. Major League Baseball, day one in the books with the pitch clock. Length was down, 2 hours, 45 minutes. For baseball, good. For us males, not good. Stolen bases were up. The Yankees won at Yankee Park, according to their mayor, who I think took the train from Madison Square Stadium to get to Yankee Park.
When Jeff Gordon said Wrigley Stadium when he sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Yeah. Also, the San Francisco 49ers, we have the Frank Solich, Steve Peterson curse at Nebraska. The Giants have the Barry Bonds curse. For the 17th straight opening day, they had a different left fielder. But as we close out this hour, Nick, this is a question for you. I'm going to let you answer it because you're a baseball guy and you've coached. Johnny writes into the Equitable Bank inbox, my 11-year-old son constantly asks me why the HE double hockey sticks do, and that's what he wrote. Do baseball coaches wear uniforms, cleats, and gear? Their playing days are over. throw on a hoodie, and call it a day.
First of all, they don't wear cleats. They wear turf trainers. They're basically tennis shoes, okay? So let's like if you're going metal cleats as a coach, you need to let go. If you know someone who does that, get them help immediately. But hey, as far as everything else, yeah, put on the hoodie. You got to have the pants on, yes, but put on the hoodie. I'm pro hoodie, pro hitter's coat. You don't need the jersey underneath. I'm completely with you on that one. But yeah, they don't wear cleats. Stop that.
You mean you didn't like Tommy Lasorda and Charlie Manuel in full uniform?
Yeah, exactly. There are just some where it's probably better to have a kind of a puffier coat, and my boy Tito is getting there right now too. Yeah, no, it's fine. The sweatshirt, the hoodie, as long as you got the pants with the belt on and turf shoes, you're fine. You are totally acceptable.
Do you think that Coach Bolt, Porter, or Service actually have a jersey in their locker?
I think Ed. Honestly, I think Ed still wears one. I think Ed has it under the coat. I'm almost positive. Evan, I'm not sure. Wouldn't shock me if he doesn't, and I'm pretty sure Will doesn't.
One ceremonial jersey in the locker, but it never gets worn.
Yeah, I think they have to just wear it for team photos.
Yeah.
You guys should have asked them this when they were on that one week.
I know that's that. Next time we have either one of them, either one of the three on, we will ask them. All right, coming up, can you name all the NFL head coaches? A Hall of Fame tight end could not, and it led into some hilarity. Plus, we'll talk about the women's and men's Final Four. The women's Final Four tonight. Of course, the late game is Iowa and South Carolina with Caitlin Clark, who her dad struggled to find a girls' league for his daughter to join. So she ended up playing on a boys' team. And Caitlin Clark in second grade, after her second grade team won an AAU boys state tournament, a parent in Des Moines complained, saying a girl shouldn't be allowed to compete with the boys. That was when she was in second grade. She plays tonight for Iowa against South Carolina. Plus, we'll get into the men's Final Four, which includes the swan song of Jim Nantz. That's all to come in the last hour. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After a diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there to appointments, chemo, or radiation is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. A few hours of your day could make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more. That's cancer.org/drive.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have one accident to report near 119th and Pacific Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Then westbound along I-80, be prepared for some significant slowdown near 144th Street. And along Highway 370, it looks like things are slowing down just a little bit from Richland Drive to 90th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Fernando's has your fix for Lent, and we're not talking about the same old fish sandwich here. Fernando's has shrimp quesadillas, blackened Alaska street tacos, and baked tilapia. Get your Fernando's fix at 114th and Dodge or 75th and Pacific. FernandosOmaha.com.
It's mulch better at Lanahaw. Planning to wake up your tired yard for spring? Make your landscape the envy of the neighborhood with mulch from Lanahaw's Garden Center, where quality is always a priority. Convenient pickup or delivery available. Lanahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
The Creighton Blue Jays are back at Charles Schwab Field as they open up a 3-game series with St. Thomas. Pre-game coverage begins Friday night at 5:45. Creighton baseball on the radio on 1180 The Zone.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries worried about COVID-19. COVID-19 tests are now covered by Medicare Part B. That's right. Achieve DX will ship you your rapid COVID-19 tests at no cost straight to your home. These easy-to-use FDA EUA authorized tests will give you results in 15 minutes. Even if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you can have these tests delivered to your home at no cost to you, and the shipping is free. For your free COVID-19 tests, call Achieve DX at 800-300-1634. That's 800-300-1634. Call now.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Last hour of the week. Knicks in Chicago. We will not be able to come back if the Cubs are unbeaten after the weekend. That's fair.
Come
right?
on.
What do you mean? You don't like your brother-in-law? You don't want to live in their basement? I mean, if the Cubs sweep the Brewers this weekend, you can't come back to Omaha.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. I like Chicago.
Is there time to take in a game while you're there? Like sneak away?
No, unfortunately, there is not.
So you're tied up with stuff. Like your wife has you wrapped up to.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are going to be doing family stuff.
We are.
That's
Yes,
boring.
we are.
That's boring.
Yeah, I was following Brewers too, and there was a lot of FOMO with that. Like, okay, we're going to the same area, but look at what he's doing. And then I look in the back seat of our car, and I see that Junior's got the entire freaking car in disarray, snacks and whatnot all over the place. Yeah, there's a lot different than Vers's trip to Chicago.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be taking the youngster out to the Drake, and you're not going to go to the Cubby Bear.
There might be some. Maybe the only common denominator would be Pedialyte.
Yeah,
used for different reasons, obviously.
Yeah, you might have that in the nursery one time. Steve Sipple is going to join us in the next segment. So if you have been following along, you guys are fantastic. They actually played against each other in the Super Bowl. People forget. That wasn't very long ago. But Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, brothers. Jason is 2 years older than Travis. Jason has decided that he's coming back at least for another year with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Travis, I hope, never leaves. And he's smart. He'll never leave Kansas City.
I don't think he will.
So it started last summer. They said, let's do a podcast together because everybody's got a podcast. Hell, I used to have a podcast. The New Heights podcast, which is named after their hometown, has been just golden. The content that they've churned out, they both have great personalities. They are never boring. They have really good guests on periodically, but they talk about some inside stuff for the NFL. Basically, two brothers getting on there having a great time. And it just coincided that the Chiefs and the Eagles met in the Super Bowl, and Mom got on there, and Dad got on there, and they're still doing the podcast. And the recent podcast, they went through the familiar coach's picture that they take at the owners' meeting. We were discussing this the other day. Andy Reid and Bill Belichick, Nick, are in the front row, and they're wearing shorts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guys are boss.
Yeah.
They're wearing shorts, and Andy Reid has got his familiar Hawaiian shirt. Well, Jason posed a question to his brother Travis as they went through the picture. Could he name all of the coaches? Now, before we play this clip, which has been edited for FCC purposes and for younger ears out there, so you don't need earmuffs, Travis did say, I can name teams, but I'm the worst with names. And this is what happened. there and to be honest, unless I was an Eagles fan, I have no clue what the OC and DC from Philadelphia look like that are now working in Indianapolis and Arizona.
I didn't know either.
He called Mike McCarthy Matt Foley. Sean McVay is Gordon Bombay. The person that he said he doesn't know if they should be coaching in the NFL is Mike McDaniel. He had no idea what Kevin Stefanski looked like. He had no idea. He had no idea what Josh McDaniels looks like. That's the first
in his own division, right?
Yeah, that's the F-bomb that he dropped. The one that he couldn't recognize, and if you look, when was the last time you saw Zach Taylor without a hat?
That's true.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor in this picture without a hat looks different. So on like first glance, even I went, "Is that? Oh yeah." So I'm gonna give him credit. You know, he doesn't have a hat on, so he overlooks him. But that is, I don't know. That's back to our discussion with Shafe. Is you would think, man, the guy plays in the NFL. He watches the NFL Network all the time. He's on the field. He looks across, and hey, there's that guy. You would think you would know more names, but that's a Travis. He's committed to other things.
It's a youthful picture too. It's a very youthful picture.
That's what I thought. A lot of kids.
It is.
Then,
I think that throws you for a loop, because when I associate like headshots and teams, I always think about like the older coaches, the ones that have been around, and you just kind of naturally associate them. When you start seeing the young guys, like I remember the first time when I saw Mike McDaniel, like, what? Who is that guy?
Did he
and then you
sneak?
realize, oh, that's Mike McDaniel. Okay, but like once you're told who it is and who he coaches for, like, oh, that's him.
That's the guy with the capris. Yeah.
So he got 21 of the 29 in the picture. Another one that he did not recognize was Kevin O'Connell from the Vikings.
Yeah, that's another one.
I just think Bill Belichick and Andy Reid hung out with some kids, and they were giving a little clinic to these young youths.
I mean,
the McVay one though.
Well, so the Matt Foley, because both of them called Mike McCarthy that must be an inside joke.
Yeah.
That a lot of people refer to him as that. I would think like if they did, and they do, they do this when they go to the Big Ten football media days, they do a picture of the 14 coaches. There would be one guy that I think people would struggle with nowadays, and that'd be Ryan Walters.
Yeah.
Could you pick Ryan Walters, the new head coach at Purdue, who is the DC at Illinois? Could you pick him out of a staff photo? Now, probably by maybe process of elimination.
Right.
But just going through all the coaches, would you be like, oh, yeah, Ryan Walters, Pat Fitzgerald, Ryan Day?
Nope.
No, not yet.
I would have a very tough time with that one. Yeah, the Kevin O'Connell one, though, too. Again, another young coach. You're like, wait a minute. Is he an analyst? Oh, it's a head coach.
Yet if you slapped a picture of the coach's photo from, say, 1991, I'd probably go 30 for 30 or whatever it is. I'd be like, hey, it's Joe Gibbs. It's Parcells.
Hey, I'm with him. When he goes, again, I've never seen this effing guy in my life. It's the guy that was tasked with trying to slow him down in the Super Bowl, Jonathan Gannon, who's now the head coach of the Cardinals.
At any time, you can throw a little shade at McDaniels.
Oh, he didn't.
Does anybody feel bad about that?
Well, Nick, I don't think it was shade, because
Josh really knew.
When was the last time you saw Josh McDaniels without a hat? A lot of
that
these
is
guys,
true. Yeah, that is true.
Coaches are always wearing a hat, and now that they're not wearing a hat, you're like, and they're cleaned up, and they're not in like coaching gear. You're like, who are these guys? Like, I have no idea who the Colts head coach is.
The only young coach that I think you could recognize, because what he looks like in that picture and what he looks like on the sideline, is Matt LaFleur. LaFleur he never wears a hat. Yeah. He's always, he's got like the facial hair. If it exists, it's like penciled. It's like boy band-esque. He's, he just has the look. And so he's the one guy you could probably recognize. The rest of the young guys, whether it's their headgear or whatever they're wearing in the actual picture itself, it's hard to make out. Like, and it's hard to like even fathom that those guys are head coaching men, professional men. So it's almost like that whole interaction was like perfect for when you do kind of like look at what the whole coaching like era is in the NFL of all
there's
these
type.
young guys with like calculators.
Yeah. It's golden, man. When he gets to Stefanski after Mike McDowell, he goes, GD, there's no way that guy coaches in the
stockbroker
at the hotel.
Yeah.
All right. Steve Sipple is coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
That's the most hipster, outdoorsy, try-hard thing I've ever heard in my life.
Try hard.
Ambiguous adjective and random piece of nature. Brewery.
Yeah, give me a descriptor and then say something about the outside. Blowing grass. Ooh, blowing grass. They have delicious IPAs.
Whistling wind.
Seriously, dude, I think that's actually the name of a brewery.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Changes are on the way Friday. Very warm and windy start to the day. We will see temperatures climb into the mid to upper 60s around noon. Then temperatures will fall through the afternoon and evening hours as northwest winds pick up, gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour into the nighttime hours. There is a slight chance for a shower storm in the afternoon. Better chances east of the metro. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
If you love attending live events, whether it's a big-time sporting event or seeing your favorite artist in concert, then you need to check out my friends at Tickets for Less and their app. It's absolutely free. It brings all of your favorite things about ticketsforless.com straight to your fingertips in one convenient location. Plus, all new users get a special discount code sent directly to your phone just for downloading the app and signing up. So simply search Tickets for Less in your app store, download the free app, and sign up for your discount. It's really that easy. Ticketsforless.com.
Email Unsportsmanlike Conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Wait, aren't these all charitable donations?
At Magda's Tax Prep, every person
I'd
counts.
rather not have to file for an extension.
She needs new auditors to maximize returns on her family time.
On itemized deductions. Hey, can someone help with these 1099s?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Spring is in sight. Looking to wake up your yard this season? Make your neighbors green with envy with Lenahaw's wide selection of landscape supplies and homegrown plant material. Get a head start today. Lenahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
Now back on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, 23 past the hour. Final four men and women this weekend. Steve Sipple from on3.com, 93.7 The Ticket, has a vested interest. He'll be locked in on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. He's locked in with us now. Good morning.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good,
Gary.
Good. How are you doing?
Fine.
Everything good?
Enjoying the Friday.
Yeah, that's good. For you, who covered him for a long time, what did it mean to Frank to finally say yes that he'll come back to Lincoln?
Oh, I mean, I think it was really difficult for him. You know, he doesn't like to be the center of attention. You know that. I mean, I think it's a great thing that's happening. I think it's probably really hard for him to do it, though. I'm glad he's doing it. What it means in the big picture, it's hard to sort of, I don't know, it's hard to wrap your brain around that a little bit. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it is. But I imagine it'll be amazing. And I'm glad they're doing it. I'm just really happy that Trev made it happen.
What?
You know, obviously, you've read what I read. It wasn't easy.
Yeah. Why do you think it was such a big deal to Trev to reconnect with Frank?
Good question. I mean, I think Trev has the fans in mind. And I think, well, the easy answer is it's the right thing to do. That's I think Trev was interested in it from that standpoint. Again, with fans in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Maybe there's some, like, I guess closure is a good word. I think there's some of that with some of the fan base. I mean, it depends on who you're talking to in terms of that closure discussion. I don't think there's, you know, if you're a 20-something fan, I don't know that you need closure.
Mm-hmm.
On that era. Yeah, a lot of kids don't remember that era. A lot of young people don't remember that era. Now, when you start getting to, you know, 40-year-olds and up, maybe there's that. It's always hard for me to speak for fans because I'm not, you know, I consider myself to be very objective, and I don't have those emotions that a lot of people do. So it's hard. It's always been hard for me to talk about other people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of Frank, though, I do know Frank well. I covered him for a long, long time, and we've had a lot of discussions. And now I think we're far away enough from it that he feels a little more comfortable, and I think he understands that the fans. Frank, I don't know. I mean, we use this on my show here. I don't think he fully understands all that. And how could he?
Yeah.
You know, that's not the way he thinks. So yeah, it's a very interesting sort of dynamic that we're getting ourselves into here.
Yeah, Sip Sharpie brought this up right after the announcement, and again, you covering him for a while. I'm curious your thoughts on this as far as what his former players. You know, I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of them in attendance on the 22nd too. How maybe, you know, we talk about the fans a lot. I know Trev mentioned that too, but his former players in having that moment, on how big that moment would be for them as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, very good teams, and of course he was close to those guys. And you know, when I think of Frank a lot, it's his time as a running backs coach. He's an extraordinary running backs coach, and he had extraordinary running backs. And those guys who I've talked to over the years, they can't. I mean, this was a premier running backs coach. I mean, the way you think of Milt Tennifer as an offensive line coach, that's how Frank was as a running backs coach. So, yeah, there's his running back guys. You know, in fact, I'm very interested to talk to some of those guys that played, the great ones that played running back for him. Oh, it's a very multifaceted discussion because Frank was a great player at Nebraska and became a great assistant coach. And then, you know, I mean, 58-19. And then you get to that sort of awkwardness, like, you know, I mean, but I don't even like, I'm not going to bring that into this discussion, that awkwardness, because I don't think that's what this is about honoring Frank and the great things he did. And one thing that he did is he won a conference championship in 1999, and there hasn't been one since. And 1999, that was a great team. Man, that wasn't his only great team, but that was a great team. And Frank is very, very proud of that conference championship, and he should be.
I've said it for a long time of teams at Nebraska that did not win a national championship.
Yeah.
Like 83, 99 is got a really good case. That was a really good team in 99 that came up short. I mean, they didn't get the national championship, but they finished it off by just clubbing Tennessee out in Phoenix. Or in
Yeah,
Tempe.
they were humming at the end. It was a big night. Charlie, you remember Charlie
Yep.
McBride tired after that game. Everybody was I mean, it was kind of, I don't think it got announced. Come on, Bullet. I don't think it got announced that night, but yeah, I mean, it was a great run. Frank had a great run. And he's a fascinating guy to me because of his humility, how understated he remains. And then, of course, what he did at Ohio was magnificent. That program went 24 years without a winning season until Frank got there. And then they became a regular bowl participant and won some MAC East Division titles. So he had a great run. 78 years old. It's time. That's probably the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to do this. And there's a lot that went into it. And I do think Frank feels good that Matt Rule has talked to him. I think that's a big component of this. That I don't know how much. You know, Frank doesn't just wear his emotions, as everybody should know, or at least, you know, people our age. Frank doesn't wear his emotions on his sleeve very often, or hardly at all.
No.
So it's kind of hard to get into that. But I know it meant a lot to him that Matt Rule has talked to him more than once. And I like what Chattel wrote. That Rule seems to be kind of getting back to what Nebraska got away from. And that's kind of hard-nosed. Talks about running the ball in the fourth quarter. You know, Satterfield talks about using 3 tight ends. They're talking about using a fullback. For whatever reason, we all sort of embrace this notion that we get away from that. And now I think we're getting back to it. And I think bringing Frank is somewhat symbolic of that, as Chattel wrote, I think, this morning.
And Sip, just to kind of some of my questions on Frank too, what you just mentioned there, you know, with Matt Rule and what he's really been kind of pushing, but also just the overall comfort level with Trev, you know, a guy that he obviously knows very well. I mean, just the overall comfort with who's currently in leadership roles right now. That had to have a lot to do with this, right? As far as, you know, as you mentioned, the right time to come back. Does you get the feeling he just feels a little bit more maybe familiar or comfortable with, you know, the current situation?
I think so. Yeah, I think for sure I would say Trev diligence played a big part in this. I mean, Trev just wouldn't let it die. He could have. There's probably more than one stage where in this process, it's been a kind of a process where it could have died. But I think Trev's diligence and then playing that card of, look, this is not necessarily about you, Frank. It's not all about you. It's about the fans. And that clearly resonated, Frank. And, you know, I got to think there's a part of Frank that I hope that there's a part of Frank that will enjoy this. I mean, I understand guys like Frank because I would never want something like this, right? To have so much attention, shout. I mean, it's got to be uncomfortable as hell, right? Now, some people would like it, but I know Frank well enough. You know, I think this is going to be hard for him to be completely the center of attention. So I hope there's somebody there that kind of, you know, somebody close to him that helps him through that part. I think it'd be really hard, you know. But I'm at the same time, I'm really glad he's doing it. But I know Frank, and he's really, really, he's not about him.
Yep.
That's one of the best things about him. It's probably why he's a really good leader. That's a strong leadership trait. It's not about him, you know. And, you know, you're not going to see him you weren't going to see him take off his shirt and wave it around after a win or anything like that. It was never about him. It was always about the players. He was always about the staff. It was always about the program. And that's what I always admired about him.
Let's be honest. If he did, I mean, when he was here at Nebraska, he was still in really great shape.
I think he's probably still in great shape
God.
at 7 to 8. Yeah.
Push-ups,
he's
sit-ups,
sort of a
crunches.
physical marvel.
Wow. Hey, let's shift here. And by the way, Matt Rule does have a key part in this. Matt Rule, I think, is the only Nebraska coach that is out. Everybody reaches out to T.O., but has reached out to 3 different former coaches at Nebraska: T.O., Frank, and Frost. But part of Rule's current program, and I want to talk about the current team because he spoke yesterday, and Terrence Knighton is kind of one to follow. Guy that's cutting his teeth at the college level. Here you got a guy that's nickname is Pork Chop is coaching a player whose nickname is Polar Bear. And I know there's no Ty Robinson. There's no Blaze Gunnerson. And I look at that defensive line, and there's some new faces, and there's some unproven guys, even Hutmacher to a certain extent. What's Terrence Knighton's biggest challenge, you think, this spring before he ever embarks on, okay, we got to go in the portal, or when new guys get here, they're going to play on the defensive line in the fall?
I'd say establishing mentality. It's not a establishing mentality of his guys and his sort of mentality. I don't have a great handle on the defense. So I don't know what his, he has some lack of numbers this year, right? Nebraska doesn't have a large number of guys that are 6'3", 6'2", 290 plus. They just don't have a lot of bodies, and there's a couple of them that are out. You mentioned Ty. Now, the reason I've been in some interviews. I've said I'm pretty concerned about the lack of big bodies on that side of the ball. You have to temper that discussion with they maybe don't need as many of them in this defense the way they're going to play.
Okay.
It's not 4 down linemen. It's 3. And they're going to move guys in and out of there. I just don't know what it's going to look like. So I don't want to go too far down the road of, they don't have enough big bodies to play in the Big Ten. I don't know. I just don't know what it's going to look like. His job is, a lot of his challenge is the same as it is with a lot of the defensive assistants.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, these guys are all coaching with Tony White for the first time.
Yep.
And there's a lot of learning that the assistants have to do. Think about it. They have to learn the defense and its nuances before they can teach it effectively. So I guarantee you there's been tension. There has to be. But I think it's good. I think that learning probably transpired at the level that it has to. The guy I remember talking about that was a lot about was Diaco, and he made clear the challenge that when he came in, that winter was really, really stressful. He had to teach his defense to coaches who then would teach it to the players. So there's some of that going on too. But I'll tell you what, I'm glad you mentioned Knight. He's my favorite assistant. I just think the way he presents himself is excellent. I love the potential for him as a recruiter. He just has a very even keeled presence about him. He likes to talk to the media, which is one reason I like him. He excelled at that as a player, and I think he'd fit about any staff.
Yeah.
So I feel very confident about the D-line coaching.
Hey Sip, and this was earlier in the week, but Ramir Johnson talking to the media, and I know that there's always intrigue with Ramir given the lack of use a year ago. Then you go all the way back to 2021, where before he gets injured, he's one of the bright spots in the backfield. I don't know why, and you were there. I got this sense that we're still kind of intrigued on obviously what his role might be, but the other maybe secondary narrative around Ramir is, so what kept you here? Because I think he was one of those guys that we thought, boy, it's going to be tough to keep him around because there just doesn't seem to be any kind of use. But it almost kind of felt like that's always sort of in the background of like, I don't want to say like, why are you here? But, what has kind of sold you that you can still, get the playing time and be productive on this offense?
Yeah, there is intrigue with Ramir, and I think some of it is just because he's good. You know, he's a good player. People recognize him. They've heard coaches talk about him. They've heard the effusive praise, and they've seen it. I mean, in 2021, you know, he led the running back room in rushing, and you saw moments where, you know, you just thought that he's gonna be pretty good. I like him a lot. I really do. I like him as a player because he's undersized, but he runs through those tackles with abandon. He always has done that. He did that going back to the game at Maryland back when I think he was a true freshman, and he got in there. He got in there for some reason, and I just remember, man, he's small and he's really getting thrown. If you go back and look at that game at Maryland, he played. They ran in between the tackles. He's small now. He was smaller then, and he was getting thrown around. He was. But he never questioned Ramirez's toughness.
Yep.
As far as what you're getting at, I've been saying this recently about a lot of college players. I think we have this notion that there's guys that we just have this we've come to have this mentality that if things don't go perfectly for a player, they're going to jump in the portal. Not all guys are like that. There's plenty of guys on teams everywhere, including at Nebraska, that like their teammates, that form bonds with teammates. Okay, and they want to see it through, and or they just have the mentality, be it the way they're raised or whatever, that they're just going to see it through, that they're not going to turn away when it's not perfect.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. But I know how Ramirez cut out, because Bill Bush talks about him all the time. That talks about him, how he was on special teams, how diligent he was. Bill said he's one of his all-time favorite players. Bush was coached for 30 plus years. He said Ramirez was one of his all-time favorite players. That he would do anything. He does anything you ask, and he does it as hard as he can. Now, what else can you ask as a coach? And by the way, he has talent. I mean, he's a talented kid, fast, super fast. He's a football player. I mean, I've seen running backs at Nebraska that were a little small that would tiptoe up to the line when their number was called to run between the tackles. Watch Ramir Johnson. Does he ever tiptoe toward the line of scrimmage? No, he's attacked. So that's. I hope it works out for him, but he's in a loaded room. So. And now, you hear they moved him into the slot. I guess maybe it was just for one day, not all in the slot. I mean, he'd play both again, I guess. But I just like to see the way it works if he was, the number one or number two running back. But he's going to have to earn that, and it's not going to be easy in that room.
A final question here, and we don't have enough time to get into how you feel about Matt Rule's new tradition of not assigning single-digit numbers. But would you like to guess on which player will be the first to be granted a single-digit number? If you're reading the tea leaves, I know it's only 2 weeks and it's the spring game isn't for another 3. I was gonna say the same person. Just the way that Matt Rule, almost every time he's in front of the media, talks about him, he has to be wearing 4 or 5, whatever running back number he wants. He's got to be a single-digit number guy.
Yeah, I think you're right. Rule's brought him up unsolicited a couple of times, or he was just asked about the running backs and brought up Gabe first. So I think he'll definitely be one. You kind of wonder after yesterday, listening to Terrence Knight, if Nash might be one, Nash Hutmacher. But I'd say Irvin's my first choice. I'd wonder about Ramir. I mean, if he's approaching everything the way he did previously, I think Ramir would be a candidate. It'll be interesting because it's a player's vote.
Yeah.
Understanding for listening to the Rule, so it's really interesting. It's almost like a captain.
I know. So you almost think, okay, outside of guys that can't wear single digit, anybody that's wearing a single digit's got a pretty good chance of being a captain because the players will vote on the captains in the fall.
Yeah, and I love it. By the way, I don't want to. I'm not going to go into a long soliloquy about it, but I love it. There's so much about what Rule says that's appealing because somehow he walks this fine line of sort of old school mentality, and tough. I mean, a lot of what he says, what I hear is just toughness. He wants his teams to be tough. But he walks this line very well between toughness and the way kind of players need to be coached nowadays and led nowadays. I mean, he's very, I guess what I'm saying is he's extremely thoughtful about this stuff.
Yep. And everything's a competition. Sip, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, no problem. That's Stephen M. Sipple. Yeah, we have Polar Bear is being coached by Pork Chop.
Pot
I like
roast.
that.
Pot roast. Come on.
Pot roast.
Oh, what did I say? Pork chop? Jeez.
Corey
I'm sorry.
Ross. Don't do Corey
Corey
Ross
Ross
like
is right.
that. Come on.
I'm sorry. Pot roast is coaching Polar Bear, and then we need somebody to show up, with another nickname on that.
Lamb chop.
Yeah,
I do sometimes think pork chop too, so you're not the only one. I get that.
You just could have corrected me earlier.
Meatball.
You'd be like Coach Roast.
I think I'd rather be a pork chop than a pot roast. Like when you watch cartoons when you're a kid and the meat was dancing around, or you go to a drive-in and they show all of the snacks that are at the snack counter, like have legs and arms and they're dancing.
You can't show a pot roast dancing around. There's no pot
Spurs
roast.
games used to have that. Yeah, dancing hot dog and popcorn.
If you saw a
pork
pork
chop's
chop
easier
or a
to
pot
dance.
roast dancing around, what would you rather have?
I'd rather have a pork chop. The pot roast looks just like a blob of meat.
Pot roast is
so that's why I'm not calling Terrence Knighton his nickname.
Pork chop.
You're not going to call because he's not a blob of meat.
My co-host is the defensive line coach in Nebraska is a blob of meat.
Pot roast is a nose and a 3-4.
You better report to HR.
I did. I was correcting you. I was trying to give his proper nickname, and now it's being turned around on me. What the hell?
I'm gonna get killed. I gotta. Man, I'm gonna have to say 3 Hail Marys for Corey Ross. Gosh. All right, when we come back, we'll give our what we think will happen to the Final Four. We kind of talked about the women, which is a little bit of the Caitlin Clark effect, but also the men's Final Four. Yeah. I wonder how many people around here will actually that are Creighton fans will watch the Final Four tomorrow. That's a fair question.
Half.
You lost your interest after you left Louisville? All right, 45 past the hour. We'll do that to close out a week of shows with Morning with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
Hey, everybody, it's Michael Severe for Ted and Wally's, 2 locations in the Old Market and, of course, in Benson as well. You know what goes great with college basketball and the College Basketball National Championship? Ice cream, and great ice cream from Ted and Wally's. It's the perfect treat. Seasonal flavors as well, over 3,000 flavors. You can check out all the flavors on social media every single day. It's Ted and Wally's, 2 locations in Benson and, of course, in the Old Market as well. Enjoy your basketball and your ice cream from Ted and Wally's.
Time for an NCAA Final Four spotlight.
Carr, a long 3, no good. Down 13 in the second half. The Hurricanes storm all the way back. And for the first time in school history, Miami is going to the Final Four.
Up next, the Canes will face UConn in Saturday's second national semifinal. Hear Westwood One's exclusive coverage of the Final Four right here.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone Deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 11th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let us handle all the details steps away on the south side of Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination. Blur Events takes care of all the work so you can enjoy the day.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again. Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill. I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Upside, the free app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back just for buying the gas I was going to buy anyway.
But is it a hassle to use?
No, it's super fast and easy, and I can cash out whenever I want.
That's a total no-brainer. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TIME for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code TIME. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TIME for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TIME.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, wrapping up the week. Final Four basketball. Baseball will be back. There's only 4 games today. Afternoon baseball makes me happy. Today does not make me happy. What made me happy, hearing real quick here, Nick, and we'll get to your thoughts on what happens tomorrow in Houston. Sip was talking about Frank Solich and not really showing emotion. I will never get the sight of 2 different scenarios, same location, Frank Solich emotion. Happened to be in the locker room after the Black Friday loss in Boulder in 2001. I mean, that's when you have to interview the coach after a game like that. I just went, what happened? And then 2 years later, the smile and enjoyment on his face and the enjoyment in that locker room after they beat Colorado when everybody thought, well, Frank's getting fired on a Friday. Unfortunately, he did the next day. But those 2 things will always stand out. Just the, difference of emotion. I think we lost Nick.
Yeah, we have potted up here.
Can you hear us, Nick? I see what you're doing there, Jimmy. You don't want Nick to comment on the Final Four.
He should be on. How about now? Now? So something happened on that end, yeah.
Nick, just talk. We can see you in the stream. Just start talking.
Yeah, I don't hear him.
Yeah, he's probably taking an order for somebody else. Somebody's going through a drive-through. No, we don't have him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's how he's getting out of the show early. All right. Yeah, I don't think we have him.
We don't.
Okay. Hey, Nick, thank you.
That's all right.
Yeah, see, don't say anything to him because if people watch this on TV, he thinks it's in the headset. So, yeah, here, we'll just text him and say, hey, check your headset and see what he does. This is probably very, very mean. Yeah, look at that headset. Check the wires. Here. Okay, check the wires. Keep in mind that in terms of the Final Four, this is mean. In terms of the Final Four, it is very rare for.
Hey, I got you.
Oh,
I got
literally did nothing.
Yeah, I told you to check the wires. All right, the Final Four. The last 6 Final Fours, we've only had 2 underdogs win in the semifinals. Last year, North Carolina was one of them. I say don't overthink the national semifinals, and we get a lot of blowouts in the semifinals. I mean, we get some Villanova, KU type games.
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, Miami is a 5.5-point underdog. FAU is a 2-point underdog. Who wins and why?
I actually like FAU. I'm going to take FAU. And one of the reasons that I'm going to say against San Diego State is because they actually do go deep. They do have a bench. And so that to me is something that, we talked about Creighton all year long. That was always a concern. So I like the fact that they do have a bench. The only thing that I would say, keep your eye on with San Diego State, can Matt Bradley show up? Because if Matt Bradley's part of this, then that would be problems for FAU. But I'm going to roll with FAU on that one. And then I just think UConn with their offense, with Sanogo, what they're doing, Hawkins, I just feel like that offense is going to be too much. If Miami can't match them, especially beyond the arc, if Miami's not hitting threes at a decent clip, then I think UConn rolls in that one. So I'm going to take UConn and FAU for Monday.
All right. Good point about Matt Bradley. I mean, remember, he finished the Creighton-San Diego State game on the bench. I mean, he's 6 of 27 shooting, 0 for 6 from beyond the arc. He's a guy that when he had 15 games this year where he scored 20 or more, and they're 12-3 in those games. He finished the last 7 minutes on the bench against Creighton. That says where Matt Bradley is going. I hate the matchup for FAU. I think if there's going to be a double-figure deficit, it's going to be San Diego State beating FAU because FAU turned the ball over 22 times against Kansas State. They don't shoot well. Janelle Davis is 0 for 7 at Madison Square Garden. Now they go into the big arena. Remember in 2011 when they played in Houston, that was the lowest scoring national championship final.
53-41.
It just that you're in a dome. You're not used to it. San Diego State's defense is portable. I mean, look what they did against Alabama and Creighton. Combined, the Tide and the Jays went 5 of 44 from beyond the arc. I don't like the matchup. I think San Diego State makes them uncomfortable at definitely one end of the floor. So I could see San Diego State winning that game by double figures. The other one, I mean, 5.5 is a little tricky with Miami, but man, UConn is playing well. Miami has done a good job in the second half of making adjustments. And Miami, I mean, they've scored. They scored in the 80s against Houston. They've scored in the 80s against Texas.
They get out and run.
Man, UConn, when you get to the second half, they are in lockdown mode.
Yep.
And so I like UConn by a little. And we get, thankfully, a UConn San Diego State Final Four, in my opinion, which saves Jim Nantz from going, should I really be here on Monday night?
Yeah, I like San Diego State because defense travels. Kind of the exact same thing you said. I think that big backdrop in the big stadium combined with the defense offensively, obviously San Diego State's not a juggernaut offensively, so they'll get what they can get. But I didn't like the matchup from the beginning. I think a Creighton Florida Atlantic game could have been up and down. We're going to shoot the ball. We're going to score the ball. Would have been a fun game to watch. This is going to be ugly. This is probably your most likely blowout. And I could see UConn also turning in a blowout, but give Miami a little credit. They do make good adjustments. They're not going to quit. They'll get up and run. UConn's on another level right now. So that being said, I'm sure none of it will happen. It'll be the complete opposite because that's where we've been this tournament.
So if you guys say blowout, are you saying FAU wins? I'm sorry, not FAU. San Diego State wins like 45-30.
A couple touchdowns, yeah.
57-45.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm. Yeah, ain't
roll
gonna be the prettiest game.
UConn, Miami, and FAU, by the way, are 4-0 against the spread in the tournament. So go to FanDuel, use the promo code ZONE, and they'll take care of you. Hopefully we took care of you this week. Good week of shows, lots of stuff. We'll be back on Monday to talk about the Final Four, the weekend of baseball, and hopefully some nuggets or two. Nebraska's first major scrimmage Saturday coming up in spring ball. Big thanks to Nick in Chicago. Enjoy your weekend.
You as well.
The leather-bound books that are directly behind you and the treadmill, yes. And then you everybody else is upstairs scurrying in your house.
They
now
are.
you get to run them. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back in studio on Monday.
All right, see you boys.
For Jimmy, I'm Gary. Make memories this weekend. Be safe. Have fun. We'll talk to you on Monday at 6 with another edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio.